Why don't we get ourselves started? We have quite a few things to accomplish today. Call the meeting to order. We'll start the meeting with the pledge of allegiance. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Is the first selectman coming?
He is.
Yes.
He's here. So we can move right in.
Okay, we'll start with any comments from the public, unless you are here to listen to the presentations. But if you have any comments at the beginning of the meeting, feel free. This would be the time. Anybody know attendees? All right, Amanda, we'll move right into you.
Oh, seriously? Okay.
It's amazing.
Mary's got some stuff on the screen.
Yeah, it should be able to show.
Sure, I'm just gonna, okay. Do you know? Yeah, I didn't share. Yours is here. Okay, wonderful. Good morning, everyone. Thank you. Thanks for inviting Liberty to share our upcoming budget request with you. We're pleased to have various members of our board of trustees and some friends of the Acton Library in the audience today. We understand your time is valuable and we hope to stay on task and answer any questions you might have regarding the budget and our operations. I'm going to try to work this. That's on the zero. The up one? No. The down one? Nope, something happened. What'd you do? I pushed that button there.
Just broke it.
That's all right. All right. We will cover the following topics in this presentation. As we present this year's budget, we want to take a moment to emphasize the heart of our library, our extraordinary staff. They are the driving force behind everything that we do. And as we move through this presentation, we will highlight not only our financial needs, but also why investing in our staff is the best investment we can make for this community.
Okay. So we've had a busy year. We completed an updated strategic plan, updated policies, added new programs, kicked off our fundraising efforts, and maintained a full staff for the first time in years. All of this would not be possible without the people involved. Each and every member of our library staff brings something special to their job. While their roles may vary, one core attribute binds them together: customer service. And I want to be clear, this is not just about providing answers or checking out books. For us, customer service means creating an environment where people of all ages feel welcome, valued, and supported. It means seeing a child grow up with a love of reading, a passion that we help spark through story times or book recommendations. It's knowing that a teenager can approach a librarian for advice or help on a project, feeling comfortable and safe to do so. It's when an adult takes time out of their busy life to attend a program, maybe on a topic like Amelia Earhart, knowing that they'll leave with new knowledge and a sense of connection to the world around them. That's what customer service looks like at the Acton Public Library. It's personal, it's impactful, and it's something our staff delivers every single day.
So when we talk about the budget, we need to recognize that the foundation of our service and the reason why it's so powerful is our staff. Our largest budget line goes to staffing, and that's because every member of our team plays a crucial role in shaping the experience of our patrons. From the librarians who design and run our programs to the support staff who keep everything running smoothly behind the scenes, each person contributes to the overall success of the library. And while salaries are often the largest component of a budget, they are absolutely worth every penny. Our staff not only maintains the quality of service we provide, but they also continuously go above and beyond to create innovative programs, build community partnerships, and foster a welcoming atmosphere.
So here's our specifics on this year's budget. As we mentioned earlier, our largest line item is staff salaries and benefits. These line items are impacted mainly by union contract increases and cost of living increases for our part-time, non-union staff. This request that we've requested this year covers our staffing needs at the most basic level. Salary expenditures as a percent of library's operating cost is on par with the statewide average. We have kept all other spending at a steady rate. We have no plans of changing or modifying due to the impending renovation. Our stance right now is keeping the space safe and updated, but nothing new. Are there any questions on this slide in particular?
So is the $50,000 increase in salaries solely attributable to contracts?
Union contracts and cost of living
So
for our, we have both non-union and union staff, so we do a cost of living increase as well with our non-union.
so no new bodies, nothing like that?
No new bodies. We do, yeah, this is covering our basic needs as last year.
I noticed on the other page that salary increase is 8 point something.
Mhm.
That's
Contractual.
kind of higher than.
And that has to do with the other salaries line.
The other salaries, yeah.
explain that.
Do you want to talk about the extra salaries on Saturdays and Sundays?
So to make sure that we provide Sunday service, and I'd like to point out that out of 174 libraries reporting for this, the state statistics, we're one of 40 libraries in the state that offer Sunday service, and it's very valuable. People come from all different towns and utilize our services. It's one of the things that it makes us stand out in this region. We need to make sure that we have enough staff for that. So we've asked to make sure that we have an appropriate amount of staffing on that day too. So those are not union staff. Those are part-time people that we had to make sure that they are trained and qualified to be shift supervisors as well.
And there was a large increase in that this year.
Yeah, we have to make sure that, some years we can bargain on, okay, it's gonna snow. So we might be able to cover some other things, but we just want to make sure, because we went over last year, that we are covering that in this year's budget, and that it's a more realistic ask than it was last year. So with all the stuff that we're doing with fundraising and strategic planning, the two of us, a lot of times we cover desk, if times were tough. So we are asking that we're doing the things that we were hired to do and not be covering desk as much, so.
So
Go ahead.
to cover those weekend hours, it's
Mhm.
not additional staff, that's just additional staff
That's-
hours. Because you did say that there was no additional staff.
There's no additional staff, but they are staff members that are qualified librarians to run a shift. Because previously, there were a lot of part-time people that were not, we didn't have a lead, if you will.
So in the 25 budget, this was under budgeted, this line item, and Amanda brought that to our attention this year. And it was quite a significant increase to bring it in line with where it should be in terms of meeting payroll. The staffing is creative. It's on Sunday, Amanda has some very qualified ex-librarians
Yes.
doing this, which she feels is very important because they're basically running the library on a Sunday. So you're not bringing in someone at $19 an hour. You might be bringing in someone at $35, $40 an hour. Okay, something like that. I'm not sure exactly. Who has a much higher credential. And this this became a little bit of an issue in some negotiations we had, but Amanda feels it's really important to bring in these higher qualified people to actually run the library on the weekends. And just from a historical perspective, I don't know how many years ago, there was a test closure of the library during football season, I'll just call it that. And it was very unpopular, and there was kind of a clamor to bring it back, so that's why we are open on Sundays, but if you want to fill in, I don't know if there's any gaps in what I just said in terms of what you want to fill in terms of why, who you're bringing in to cover these hours and why it's an increase.
I mean, because we know that we are a library with Sunday hours and there are many communities that don't have it. We have a lot of people coming in and it's the only day that they can maybe access a public computer. And we have qualified staff on the reference desk that can help them, say, get into their social security or start helping them find tax forms or, you know, help them with the computer issue. And those are the people that we have there to continue an appropriate level of service that people in this community expect of us.
So I don't know where it is in the line item, but that increase was like $35,000. It was significant. So to right size the budget for those folks.
Yeah.
I think it was I forget what we called it. George.
So where is that? Because if you look at the actual versus the budget, I don't see a 35,000 increase.
So this is the form that we provided 2 weeks ago, last week.
Yes.
The total ask was 52,000, let's go from 53,000. The ask for the additional hours is 30,000, which means the remaining salary increase is 20,000, which is pretty much in line with 3%.
So that's all, so the 35,000 is like in the regular employees.
The 30,000 is just additional hours line item. That's part of the 52,000.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's all in that, it's all in
Yeah,
that.
that's
Can
all
I just
online.
finish?
Yes.
It's all online.
So this increase is a one-time increase of 8%, because 8% is not sustainable year to year, at least within our budget confines. So once we do this adjustment next year, your request would be more in line with the salary increase, which would be around 3%.
I would assume so, as long as, we need to
Thank you.
bring it up to appropriate levels.
Okay.
Brad, did you have a question?
Can you turn the volume up? On that end, I got mine turned up all the way on this end.
We can,
Larry.
we'll ask somebody who knows to do that.
Yeah, Paul, that was
Larry's on the system.
I know.
when
He's
it was
driving.
brought to us. Originally, I was like, maybe we should think about doing this over several years, and you know, but it was a big increase, and it I'll say it caught me a little bit by surprise too, but Amanda explained it, and
No, the explanation is a one-time adjustment,
yeah,
but 8%
On
a year,
salaries,
8.5% a year is not.
that's not what the wage grade increase is, I can assure you.
Right.
All right, let's keep going.
As far as structure and staffing goes, as we reflect on the past year, one of the highlights has been our steady staffing levels across all service points. We've made a concerted effort to ensure that each of our 4 service points is staffed with the appropriate number of qualified staff members, allowing us to consistently meet the needs of our community. This stability in staffing is critical, as library users have come to rely on the level of service we provide. Our dedicated staff works diligently to ensure that each interaction, whether in person or over the phone, is handled efficiently and with care. We understand that our patrons depend on us, and we remain committed to upholding that trust. In addition to fulfilling daily service demands, we recognize the importance of giving our team the time they need to grow professionally and enhance their skills. Some staff members are provided with some designated time off the service point, which then allows them to engage in side projects, prepare and conduct programs, or pursue professional development opportunities. This time not only helps staff maintain a high level of performance, but it also ensures that we stay at the forefront of trends and innovations within the library field. Our steady staffing levels have allowed us to maintain a consistent, high-quality experience for our users, while also fostering an environment where our staff can continue to grow and thrive. As we move forward, we'll continue to prioritize this balance of service and staff development to support our mission and our community.
And I just wanted to, I think everyone got a copy of this. It's just a nice infographic of the services we do provide, and these are all staff. We have to have staffing to do all the stuff that we're doing here. So, we'd like to touch on our steady rise in material circulation, which has been gradually increasing since the pandemic. While we've seen a shift in user behavior over the past few years, we're pleased to report that our circulation is on the upswing. We attribute this positive trend to several strategic efforts that have revitalized our collection and helped attract more users back to borrowing materials. One of the key factors in this success has been our ongoing collection maintenance. By regularly reviewing and removing outdated or underused materials, we've made space for new and relevant items that better serve the interest of our patrons. This ensures our collection remains fresh, vibrant, and engaging. We've also made a concerted effort to shift collections and create displays to better attract attention and make browsing easier. By thoughtfully reorganizing materials based on themes, genres, and popularity, we've created a more user-friendly experience that encourages more interaction with our collection. All of these efforts, combined with our dedication to serving our community, have contributed to the gradual increase in material circulation. While we may not yet be back to pre-pandemic levels, we are optimistic about the continued upward trend and look forward to engaging our users with both new and familiar materials.
So as you can see from this very brief list here, we offer a variety of items, both physical and digital. What you don't see here is the impact that this collection has on our patrons and our community at large. Upon checking in one of our hotspots, we found this very kind note, which says, "Thank you very much for the loan of the Wi-Fi hotspot. This is a truly fantastic service that allows me to get work done while on the road for clients. And as a single mom, I cannot afford my own personal Wi-Fi hotspot. I'm really grateful to have access to the one from Acton." This is the true measure of our success. This is the human element that makes our collection so vital.
Could I ask a question?
Sure.
I noticed that you have 983 programs for children and adults. And I'm wondering if you've seen an increase in the use of the children's library, and what percentage increases the programs to the increase to the children's library?
Yeah, I would say that the increase in program attendance, or actually the increase in the use of the children's room, is due mostly in part to the increase in children's programs that we offer every week. We offer 3 programs every single week, and we have seen just a very steady attendance at each and every single one of them.
Have you had to increase the hours in the children's library? Because a couple of years ago you did. And has that paid off?
So the children's library hours are the same as the regular
Yeah.
operating hours. We don't shut down the library at the children's library.
You extended the hours 3 or 4 years ago, maybe before you were here. Because
I had heard that they had closed down the children's room. No, we don't.
No, it is open every single hour that the rest of the library is open.
all right, so what percentage increase as the use of the library been steady, or have you seen major increase in it, a percentage?
I
You don't know?
So we have door count.
Go ahead, and the microphone's all the way up, and
I figure.
and I can hear everything perfectly fine in here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We got two, Larry.
Oops.
But no, to your question, the usage of the children's library or the children's library has absolutely increased, especially, I mean, over just the past month, it is buzzing in there. Especially with the after school crowd, and prior to that in the mornings after either a play group or a story time. it's buzzing in there as well.
Yeah.
So
Good.
it's nice to see.
Yeah, I'm glad to hear that.
We are on summer reading, yeah. So over the past few years, we have made a deliberate effort to expand and diversify the programs we offer. These programs are designed to serve library users of all ages. And we've seen a remarkable increase in both the quality, quantity, and variety of opportunities available to our community. Whether it's educational workshops, creative art sessions, or interactive events, we are proud to say that our library has become a vibrant hub of activity for individuals and families alike. This past summer, the impact of these efforts was especially evident. We saw an outstanding increase in participation across all ages. For adults, we saw an 1,100% increase. I know, it's like,
People
yeah.
trying to read again.
Yeah, no, they do. So like, the way that Cindy creates like the challenges is like, maybe you're interacting with, maybe you're reading a book, maybe you're reading a mystery, maybe you're reading outside with a book, but we want to make sure that people are enjoying their time and thinking about taking in information in different ways. And she also has fun prizes too, so, which the, you know, and I want to shout out to the local businesses because they always support us. And it's a really great, it's a great feel in this community. The team saw a 525% increase, which is amazing. And children's, we experienced a 249% increase. These numbers are not just statistics, they are a reflection of the community's increasing trust and desire for the programs we provide. More people are turning to the library, not only for traditional resources, but for the dynamic programs that support lifelong learning, creativity, and connection.
Now let me share a powerful example of how the library directly impacts lives. This is just one of the many heartfelt notes that we receive each and every year. I've often shared with friends how incredible it is that Acton Library delivers books to those who are temporarily disabled or ill. They are always amazed and vow to advocate for this service at their own libraries. I underwent 3 joint replacements, and Kara's assistance and kindness were truly life-saving. This testimonial highlights the profound value of our outreach programs. This is just one of the many ways your library enriches the lives and strengthens the Old Saybrook community.
I think it's 147 homebound deliveries. So we are trying to find new and different ways to make sure that that message gets out to the community. So we are working, maybe we're gonna think about working with Meals on Wheels. See if they can get that word out.
Is it a staff member right now?
It is, it's always a staff member, yeah, and she connects with these people and she does an amazing job. We go over to Glayview and people's homes, obviously only in Saybrook, but these people, it's a real connection for a lot of these people. Even though a lot of people, I feel like they don't want to ask for the help. I think, you know, once they give in and say, yeah, okay, I'll take it, you know, they really appreciate it. Wait, what's this?
As part of our updated strategic plan, we've carefully reviewed the goals outlined in our 2021 to 2024 plan. And we've found that these goals continue to be the guiding principles for our work moving forward. Why? Because they are rooted in a vision that puts our community at the center of everything that we do. Our 5 primary goals remain highly relevant because they reflect the core needs of our community and the library's role in addressing those needs. These goals foster community, peer, and intergenerational engagement, satisfy curiosity and stimulate imagination, promote civic engagement, support local economic development, and provide exemplary service. They're just not aspirational, they are practical and essential for continued growth and vitality of our library.
Fundraising. As part of our ongoing efforts to improve and expand our library services, we're excited to share an update on our fundraising initiatives. which are currently in full swing. As many of you know, we've been working to match the $2 million State of Connecticut Library Construction Grant. We were awarded in November of 2023. To date, we have successfully, and actually I need to add 50,000 more, but $1,427,489 of municipal funding. I did just get a gift, and I just want, this is kind of a lovely statement to the staff. I had a woman come in and say last week and say, my husband loved the staff and I'm gonna give you $50,000. And I want, this to go towards the renovation in honor of him because they made him feel special. And every day, I want his legacy to be in the library, so. It was amazing, because I think as we're reiterating today, the staff, they go above and beyond every day and they make people feel welcome. And I think it's really important sometimes when we're not always feeling connected in communities that we are here and this is what we do on a daily basis.
Amanda, can I interrupt
Yeah,
you just a second?
sure.
I'm just always listening very closely to what people say and making sure that what they say is what they mean and what people hear later. And you said it was 1.427489 in municipal funds, but it's not.
Non-municipal.
Right.
Non-municipal.
Right.
Oh, sorry, did I say? Yeah, it's non-municipal.
Just wanna make
So,
sure.
yeah, yes, it is non-municipal funds.
And so the library award was 2 million.
Yes.
And you are required to put forth 2 million in non-municipal
Correct.
funds also.
Yes.
So you feel that number is about where now?
So it's probably
1.5?
1477489.
And does that include the grass?
It does not.
Okay.
It does not.
So,
So we have another $50,000 from the Tucker Second Family Generation matching gift. So that needs to, we are currently working on matching those, but we're only in month one of that.
the hope is to obviously get to 2 million sooner rather than later.
Correct.
And through, I know Amanda, right now, she and I are working together to create a nonprofit. We won't go into the details on that, so that we can run a raffle, so that we can raise hopefully the remainder of that 2 million. If not, if we don't quite get there. And I mean, it's whatever. There's another larger gift out there waiting to be made. And I happen to know that. So I think we're a lot closer than we think we are to actually executing on this project.
Yes.
You hired a chief development officer.
Yep.
Is that on a contractual basis, short term, or is that a full-time position that's going to be ongoing?
That is a 10-hour a week that was funded by the Friends of the Library. So we have that funding through June of this year. So we may need to come and ask for more at some point.
But that is to get them over. the hill.
Yeah.
That's what that's for.
Yes, yeah. And I do want to mention, we did hire that role, I think in July of last year, what day is that? June of 2024. And so we've been raising steadily since. This role has been instrumental in helping us streamline our efforts, build relationships with donors, and implement comprehensive strategy to meet our fundraising goals. With her expertise, we're confident we will continue to make significant progress. Our staff too has been incredibly dedicated to spreading the word about the renovation and always in ways our community can contribute. I don't know if you've been in the library, but we have a very large lighthouse that one of our board of trustee members built. He's really awesome. And you can donate right there on the spot, or you can go to our website. There's a variety of ways. You could bring me cash. That's okay, I will take that too. Put it right in there. So Whether it's through direct conversations with patrons, engaging with local groups, or having a presence at community events, our team is actively working to convey the importance of this project and how everyone can be part of making it a reality. We're thrilled by the momentum, and we're committed to seeing this project through to completion. The funds we raise will not only help us renovate the library, but will ensure that we remain an essential and vibrant resource for our community for years to come.
As previously mentioned, we have been very, very hard at work improving the library as a whole. One item we have not mentioned yet is the new generator that is coming soon. As a designated heating and cooling center for our community, this generator will ensure uninterrupted service during power outages caused by storms or other emergencies. This investment underscores our commitment to serving as a reliable resource for our community, especially during times of need.
Do you have an update on that?
No, just the last update that she gave, and that was end of February. I think it's too cold out there to break ground or anything. Yeah, and I haven't had it.
I think I asked this question to you, Carl, but that generator that's being installed, it'll be able to be utilized even when the renovations are done?
Yeah.
Okay.
So because we're not increasing or changing the footprint,
Yep.
it's gonna be, I don't know if you know where the rain garden is back there, it's gonna be right around back in there. So it won't even really be, it won't be visible. from the
And so
front.
not only a heating and cooling center, but an area of refuge for Goodwin in the case of an emergency. I think that's important to point out too.
Yes. All right, capital requests. Now we'd like to address our capital requests for fiscal year 26. Over the past few years, with the dedicated help of Dan Moran, our facilities management has seen significant improvements. Many of the foundational yet often overlooked contracts have now been set in place, ensuring that the library's infrastructure is well maintained and sustainable. This has been a key part of our effort to not only maintain the building, but create a welcoming functional space for our patrons. For fiscal year 26, we do not anticipate asking for additional capital funding, especially as we focus on fundraising for the library's renewal project. We're in a period of planning and preparing for the larger renovation, which is where our efforts are currently directed. However, when we look at the 2 to 5 year horizon, there are a few capital needs we foresee, primarily after the renovation project has been completed. Once completed, we do expect to see the need to add some extra technology funds. Our public computers were last replaced in 2020. Also, our collaborative idea lab will need additional funding. We also hope to improve AV equipment for our meeting rooms.
The computers, are those basically library online, I thought?
So they only replace one a year. And that includes staff computers too.
Really?
Yeah, so it's, when I had extra funding during, I'm not sure, did I use ARPA? No, I don't think I used ARPA funds, but I replaced 20 desktops, and they're heavily used. Our computers are in use, so I foresee that in software upgrades. I mean, I think the last time I had to buy a whole new suite of Microsoft Office to make sure that all the computers were updated. So it's not just hardware, it's software. And and if we're talking about a idea lab, or as some people call it, makerspace, we're talking about software and hardware. And, if someone wants to come in and work on, resumes and all those kind of things, and we want to make sure that that's a space that's actually functional and has things that people want to try.
I would just like to thank you for mentioning Dan Moran's effort on the library.
Yeah.
I'll bring this up to him, and I'm
Oh,
sure he'll
good.
be very happy to
Yeah.
see it. So
So-
thank you.
We say hi. Is this really? In conclusion, so we've had a truly impactful year, and we're proud to share the progress we've made in all the key areas we've discussed today. As we've mentioned, at the heart of everything is our exceptional staff. They make all of this possible. It's through their dedication and hard work that we've been able to provide four service points of service to our community. ensuring that everyone has access to the resources they need. Their efforts are reflected in our programming and circulation, where we continue to see meaningful engagement with library users of all ages. Our updated strategic plan will continue to guide our path forward with a focus on community engagement, innovation, and service. And through fundraising and partnerships, we will continue to enhance our library's offerings and ensure its future growth. Moving forward, we remain committed to innovation, community engagement, and ensuring that our library continues to evolve as an indispensable resource for all. We will work to refine and expand our current services, invest in the future of our technology and facilities, and maintain our role as a vibrant community hub. With your continued support, we are confident that our library will grow and thrive, meeting the needs of our community for years to come. So thank you for your time and ongoing commitment to the future of the Atchison Public Library.
Thank you. We'll open it up to questions. Are there questions from member of the board?
I just got a question or comment about the tech sessions. Is that a fairly new program? It looks like you did that along with the estuary.
We do. Yeah, you want to talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, I absolutely can. So we do have somebody that goes over to the estuary and offers free one-on-one tech sessions on Mondays. And then I offer them on Thursdays, one-on-one, and it has been so incredibly helpful to this community who's constantly struggling with the ever-changing technology that we're all dealing with. So for them to be able to come in and feel comfortable asking questions and honestly making themselves feel very vulnerable, but learning some new skills, it's been an invaluable service. And they are chock full. I did 7 on Thursday,
Yeah.
like back to back to back. It was amazing. And they were clamoring for more.
So I had a question, and it's on way back on the department budget. I just didn't want to take you back while you're doing so well going forward. But on the line, right at the end, active building, where we had $20,000 budgeted last year and
Right.
then budgeted this year.
So
What was that for?
those are our key pumps. So we have 34 in the building, and then we have been, so I was talking to Scott at NEEC, and we have been really picking off the worst ones. So now we're kind of in a phase where it's, I think Carl agreed that I think we're gonna move to 1, and that's gonna move
Well,
into
we'll move
the
to 1 or 2.
1 or 2, depending on the need.
So, yeah,
So there'll be no need in this coming fiscal
The
year.
capital committee met and we're gonna move it to a different spot in the budget. So you're gonna hear about that later today, but the 20,000 is still there. It's just in a different spot.
it's gonna go in an off-budget account. So if they use 15,000 one year, we don't lose the 5,000. Because these heat pumps still need to be replaced.
They do. They're not
So
like,
that's the idea, is to move it off budget so that account can accumulate if we don't use all the funding. Chances are we'll use a large part of it every year. But Scott Demi at NEEC, which is the main contractor for all the town's HVAC, stated that we might be in a position where if we need to replace 2, we'll replace 2, but we might be able to be doing 1 from here forward. So, but I'd hate to lose, we got to this point,
yeah,
and the work needs to be done on the building.
so I think we're maintaining and I know Tom, the tech, he's gonna come down and kind of pinpoint which one is next in rotation for replacement.
Just, this is me. Minor point, but in the future, it would be helpful, even if it's somewhere else in the budget, to note it, just note, because right now it looks like it's disappeared. So it's out of the budget. And so it would be great. It would be good to know that somewhere else, just so we're apples to apples.
That's on me,
Understood.
not on Amanda.
I understand.
Thanks, Carl.
Okay,
I could have said.
other questions people have? Hearing none, I want to say thanks to what you guys are doing. And also to all the board members and everybody. You guys are doing a great job there, and we really appreciate all the work.
Can I just say something quick?
Absolutely.
Okay, first of all, my name's Alan Schwartz, and I'm on the board, and I think I can say pretty definitely, just to let everybody know that the people on the board, the friends of the library, we totally support Amanda and her staff.
Thank you. Anything else? George?
Another one to just me second Bruce's comment. I mean, thank you very much for both of you for presenting and the rest of your support for fans out there. Sure. So we appreciate it.
All right, thank you very much. We
Appreciate
will
it.
keep moving. We have a lot.
Thank you. Yeah. There was just, something to go along with the presentation. Yeah, I know.
Okay.
You may have
Hey.
That's that, George's apple. Yeah. You want me to?
Sure.
I'm gonna have to take a look.
I should just.
Back in the office after, so I'll tell you. I'll send a flash.
Well, I have a house.
I sure don't know. I mean,
Should I?
Yeah.
You're coming over to Spain, right? Yeah, yeah, okay, then I don't stop, I'll just make sure. Yeah. I had every channel on earth.
Ray, where's all?
I like
Yeah.
color.
I need a suit. Come on.
I think it kind of shows.
I know.
I
like those.
There's some sort of-
I'm trying to get it.
I think there's gonna be.
All right, let's don't try to get somebody else. What's up, Blair?
Some girl.
Sure.
What am I doing? You're like.
Yeah, if that works.
Let me know. I will. I'm working on it. I'm working on it.
Renovation changes, however, I love
Oh, all right. Thanks.
I got everything for free because we were technicians.
Yeah. I was trying to turn Emily up too. I'm like, Emily, watch our time.
I did not.
I can't believe I got it.
I'm glad. I was supposed to be.
We got a lot of slides here, Ray. I was hoping for less now, I was like, Ray's got a lot of slides, good pictures, I love the visuals.
We like the pictures. We're chicks, we like pictures.
My husband loved the picture of the basketball court. It's like, I think when's that coming on?
Yes, we are.
It's possible to make it a little cooler than you need to attract us upstairs.
Well,
I don't
we've
use it in
been
really cold
dealing
weather.
with that for years. It's such a big room and the sensors downstairs, so the heat is blown up.
I
from
only
up
go
there.
there if it's like 15 degrees.
So when the
out.
heat's blown down, it's there
It wasn't
first, and it
outside.
gets stuck up there because it can't flow.
So that should be our town warming center
It
then.
should.
Yeah, it really should.
Yeah, it all depends on the time you go. If you go in the morning when it starts to
heat itself
Yeah,
up.
oh, I
really
went there at like
hot.
8:30,
Yeah.
8:15, it was
I
hot.
really. Later
Like, I
on,
wore
it
shorts
slows
and
itself down.
Okay, pull ourselves back together. Thank you very much.
No.
Ray and Susan, good to see you. Good to have you here. Ray, I'm going to, take the opportunity as chair to understand you've got a 41 slide deck here. And at the end of the day, you're asking for an additional $19,000, 16,000 of which is contractual and statutory. So I would say hit the highlights.
Sure.
Assume that we've done our homework.
Yeah.
And very much.
I'll just go through it quickly. I'll try not to go too fast, but thank you and good morning to everyone. I think you'll find this budget pretty clean, pretty simple, and not a lot of asks in general. As you're well aware, we have 4 different budgets within the recreation department. Those budgets are what we call our recreation budget, our mini golf budget, our parks budget, and our Victor Duffy Pavilion budget. And our first budget that we encounter within our slides here is our recreation budget. This is our main budget. It's our 301 budget. It houses all our staff salaries, all our part-time salaries, lots of maintenance line items within the rec center, and some other insurances and things of that nature. Some of the main points that I want to feature in here is our regular employees. Our first line item shows $20,000 increase. Regular employees are our full-time employees. Those are our 5 full-time employees that we have at the rec center. Myself, our front desk person, the assistant director, the teen center coordinator, and our maintenance person. So those are contractual line items.
Gonna stop you right there.
Boom.
So the teen center director, we've made a change.
Correct.
Okay. So that was a 30 or 34?
He was a 29.
29-hour position for years. And we've had such turnover in that position. In fact, the assistant director right now was in that position probably 5 years ago. She left for a full-time job. When Jonna Paradise left, she said, oh, I want to come back to Old Saybrook Park and Rec for a full-time position. We interviewed, she was hired. Ray called one day and said, what's the gentleman's name?
Nolan Clack.
What?
Nolan Clack.
Nolan. So Nolan, he goes, oh, Nolan's leaving, and here it is again. And so I said, see if he'll stay for full time, because again, revolving door, can't keep the help, super important position. So mid-year, Ray was authorized to bring this person full time. He's been there for several years. He's proven himself. Ray feels he deserves full time. And as a result, that is now a full-time position. So that is a change in the staffing level, just so we have stability there in Park and Rec, and Ray's not constantly looking to fill a 30-hour position.
As someone whose 12-year-old son is at the teen center, no one deserves it, trust me. Just for my son alone, and I'm gonna have him learn.
I'm really glad to hear that. I'm really glad to hear that.
Thank you for that.
Presentation over.
Two of the other line items that have some changes in here for staff salaries. If you notice, it says facility assistant, those are actually parking attendants. And that's a slight increase in there. Just through the last couple of years, we've gone over that line item, mainly because I have adults working there. Adults work, last year our staff was made up of half adults and half of teenagers, and adults get paid a little bit more. So that's where the main difference in that particular line item comes from. Just needed to increase it to reflect that. And then the 2 other ones, one's a decrease and one's an increase. It's essentially moving one line item to the other line item. The gym supervisor, these are 2 line items that we've had in our budget for years upon years. Gym supervisors are usually people I pay on the weekends. Building supervisors are people I pay at night. We're only open on weekends half the year. Oh, well, excuse me. Saturdays full-time, Sundays half the year. So just to reflect the line item, how it goes, we just wanted to move the money in appropriate spots. And as you can see, going down the line items here,
very minimal increases in any of those particular 4 line items as we move forward. Ball field upgrades is a bigger one. Again, we have lots of ball fields out there. We need to keep them clean, looking great, and products have gone up. So that's what the increase for those.
So I'm surprised to see with a person going full-time, health insurance going down.
Yeah.
That's because we had someone leave that was taking a family plan.
Okay.
And then I think the person that came on is a single,
Okay.
so it's just
Actually,
really.
he's still there as parents.
And
He's still on.
Nolan is waiting, but that was when the assistant director
Yeah.
swapped out, yeah.
Correct.
Okay.
So, and that is our 301 budget. Next budget is our mini golf budget. Very small increases in our mini golf budget. Again, the top line item is how we pay our employees down there. Very small increase in that. Just because I've gone over, I've actually added people in shifts because we are so busy down there on Saturdays, Sundays, and Fridays and things of that nature. So last year, just to give you an indication, we grossed $277,000 at mini golf. That is from essentially weekends in May and through Labor Day full-time, and then weekends again in October, through October rather. And of that money, as you know, some of that goes back into our sinking fund, $2 every person that plays down there. We have over 39,000 rounds that are played down there in the summer. So it pretty much equates to about $78,000 or so that goes back into our sinking fund, which is awesome. And we'll talk about that in a little bit later on. So again, very minimal increases to our mini golf budget. It's self-sustaining. Everyone goes down there. We all know what it's all about. So we love it. Our next budget is our Vicky Duffy Pavilion budget. Very tiny increases in this particular budget. Custodial services and water and sewer. Just water prices have gone up slightly down there. And our custodial services people we bring in to clean the facility after rentals or any of our programs that we have going on down there. Last budget is our parks budget. Some more increases in this particular budget. Mainly, if you look at the grounds budget, it's $1,000. I added $1,000 because we added a park. If you recall, we added a park across the street. We will be fully operational in that park starting this spring. We will have a grand opening ceremony when it gets a little warmer. Sue decided not to do it when it's 2 degrees out, so you can thank her. You guys will all be invited to that.
Although I wanted to see Carl play bocce.
So our plan is for an April or May timeframe, depending on how weather goes, to have a full grand opening there. Again, the water and sewer line item there is an increase. Splash pad takes a lot of time and a lot of water. So that's where the main increase in this that. Lawn care for $1,000. Lawn care is our outside contractor that we bring in to supplement our public works department. Mainly doing cleanups around flower beds, bringing in mulch to different areas. He does cleaning of the fishing area down at the point on a weekly basis. He helps out cutting the grass at mini golf, things of that nature. Some of his prices are going up, I would say. And electricity. I think we don't have to really talk about electricity increases in that. I think we all know what that's all about. And those are our 4 main budgets. So all four budgets represent $905,000 and $481. Of that, 62% of it is part-time and full-time salaries. Certainly our rec department would not happen without our people that we have working for us. They are an essential part, just as they are in the library, as you guys just heard. So without them, I can't do anything. And I'd like to think our rec department is one of the best in the state, and we are continuing to make that better each and every year with the help of this board, and with the help of Carl and all the things that he's helped us with. And we strive to be the best in the state. So thank you for all that you do and helping us out doing that. As you can see, the rest of the budget, how it affects and percentages and all that good stuff. 120,000 of it is basically repairs and maintenance. Now, I can't say when something's gonna break. We all know that. But that's why we have that number in there, so we can fix it when it does, and people can continue to enjoy the amenities that we offer. You guys all live in this town, you know, all the other shoreline towns close to us, and I think we have the best amenities of any town around us as far as parks and what we provide, so. Again, just a different way to look at our budget, and I just like this particular pie piece because the big purple part is the income that we bring back to the general fund. That is within one summer. That includes our fees that we charge for our beach passes, the money that we make at Harvey's Beach. And certainly some of our mini golf money that goes back into our general fund. So we are about 50% of what we take from the town, we give right back. So I think this is a very important mind picture that you guys can all see.
Great. The treasurer on a monthly basis reports to us the local income. And one of the things that I've been struck about this year, and I'm sorry, I've been trying to find it, but I can't find it on my computer, was the, you know, you were mentioning about the, was 277,000 for golf. Can you just, that seems to me to be a significant increase from where we've been. Is that,
No, the year before we made 275,000. So we've been in the 270 range for the last 5 or 6 years. Prior to, we used to charge $5 a round. That was around 5 or 6 years ago. We made a lot less. We were around 180 or so. And then when we jumped to 7, it jumped up to that bigger number. So
Isn't $2 of that going? Right,
correct.
$2.
$2 that goes directly into the city.
Right.
And we also reduced the budgeted amount by 100,000 because we're gonna transfer that at the end of the fiscal year.
And we're,
Okay, so,
Yeah.
so
It
that's
looks like
why
it's a
we're
lot
looking
higher.
like we're over
Yeah.
budget. I get, okay.
The 277 is a gross amount.
Yeah,
obviously.
I get it, I get it, I get it, okay. Thank you. You'll be keeping your fee the same.
Correct. Where are we staffing in? And again, this is how our graph goes in our staffing and what each one represents.
Right, your staff's doing a great job too. The new assistant director seems like she just fit right in and.
She's hit the ground running and
Yeah.
she's doing a great job. These next slides are just individual budgets and how they represent in percentages of staffing and insurance and maintenance and things of that nature. So again, the mini golf budget is total $93,547. And the majority of that is staffing, and obviously without a staff down there, we wouldn't have a mini golf department, mini golf course. So
Ray, what do you have in your sinking fund right now, approximately?
we have $514,727.
So it's working. And
But that doesn't mean we don't want more, okay? Because we do have a strategic plan and we do want to go forward with it to
Right.
improve our parks.
and we will.
So, more.
Again, the Vicky Duffy pavilion budget and how it represents percentage wise, and the majority of the Duffy budget is utilities. Obviously, we have to pay for our electricity, our water, our gas, things of that nature.
Ray, question, and sorry if I'm just not seeing it, but how much does the Vicky Duffy Pavilion bring in terms of revenue?
It varies obviously with the number of people that rent it, but generally between 18,000 and 22,000, something like that.
Thank you.
And the last budget slide here is our parks budget, representing $89,000 worth of utilities and various maintenance things and lawn care. And those are individual slides. Now, the next set of slides are just individual line items and what they mean. It's a little bit easier to see, I think, as opposed to our bigger picture and how they are either decreased or increased. And you can see in blue here, I have the decreases. And the top slide, the top part of it here are contractual. That this all goes to our 301 budget, our main recreation budget. So of the $19,000 that's increased in the The parks, but the recreation budget, 16,000 of it is contractual. And only 3,000 of it is budgetary increases, and just a little easier slide to see, it breaks it out a little bit easier for everyone. And I do the same for the next couple slides. I've talked about, you guys all know about the minimum wage increase, we've talked about it for years. Starting in January this year, went up to 16.35, so nothing to do about that. For our younger people, they get paid, so it's quite an increase if you really think about it. From when we started in 2019, it was $10.10 an hour to 16.35. That is quite an increase in salaries. They enjoy it. Next slide is for our summaries, again, with our mini golf budgets, our Vicky Duffy budget, and our parks budget. Again, these are all broken out so you can see exactly what they are for. Most of the line items are pretty accurate with their wording and what they are. Some of them are a little bit wonky unless you're dealing with it all the time. But pretty simple to see how we're increasing each one of these particular budgets. Some of our accomplishments. Certainly, we finished up Main Street Park across the street. It looks great. We finally got grass to grow, which was awesome because it wasn't growing for a little while. We do intend to have lots of things going on over there. We intend to have a bocce league, certainly some bocce lessons. There's been a lot of excitement from the community actually calling in, and when do we start? So that's a really good thing. There's a group of people that play all the time. They're very excited to get over there. So
that is good to hear.
Pretty happy to hear that actually. So I think the park is already well used with pickleball. And I think parking will be quite on hand over there, and we'll see how it goes, but so far so good. So some of the other projects, resodding the Maple Avenue, if you haven't been over there, it looks awesome. That went down in August. We put that sod down, and it looks great. We put a new fence up at Cavanaugh Park. That is to enhance the Little League field in the back there. Upgrades to the bathrooms. Those will be, you'll be able to notice those in the spring. They've just brightened themselves up. We've added some lighting, some fans, some new woodwork around each of the bathrooms. So the next one there is a DEP grant for trails. That hasn't been accomplished yet, but we plan on getting that rolling. So for those of you, if you don't know, we did receive a grant from DEP it's called the Trails Grant. And at Saybrook Point, we will be enhancing the trail that goes from Fort Saybrook Monument Park all the way around Gardner's, moving right in front of mini golf. There'll be a trail there, lighting, some educational boards, and that enhances our whole park down there that will connect the trail that goes from across the causeway behind Saybrook Point in all the way around down by the river. So essentially it'll be a nice long river walk, which will be really nice down there.
Yeah, I always like to point out that there is a public right of way through the rear of Saybrook Point Inn, and that was developed. So when you see that area, where people walk, that is an easement that was granted. So
some other just minor accomplishments. We had some teen center stuff that we upgraded. We resealed the town beach seawall that was really dilapidated and falling apart. So there was a lot of work done there this past spring and part of the summer to get that back to a proper seawall, which I've always been amazed about that seawall. About 15 years ago, we didn't even know it existed. The sand that covered it up, and then we had one storm in the summer, in the winter, and it exposed it. And the sand has ever since been going away from it. So now you can really see the sea. But when I first came to town, that was not even there. So quite amazed with that one. Lots of invasive plants removed around Crystal Lake and Clark Community Park. Again, invasives, we all have them. This has been a hot topic around town for many years. They are expensive to get rid of, but they are essential to get rid of. Without getting rid of any of the invasives, our parks and our open space would be choked out, and our natural shrubs, trees would eventually die, so invasive removal is very important.
Just a question on that. Was that done out of your budget or was that done out of the invasive?
Invasive.
Budget? Okay, thank you.
Have we been using it?
Um,
And at Founders.
And at Founders,
Which
yep.
is another
Yep.
park and rec facility.
Absolutely.
And you'll notice we do different ways, so Founders is done a different way than what we do in other parks, because we're always looking for the key area that does the problem, get rid of it, but also saves money at the same time. But unfortunately, invasive removal can be a 3 to 5 year program.
Another big one on this list is the completion of the forest management plan for the preserve. That particular plan has been worked on, well, we bought the preserve 10 years ago, put it that way, with the state of Connecticut. And it's taken 10 years to get this forest management plan in place, which will then afford us the opportunity to move on to the public use plan, which will then allow us to create our trails that are in the preserve. So the completion of that plan by the state of Connecticut and the acceptance of it by the CMC committee was a really big step, and that happened in December. We expected it to happen in August, but it just got delayed. But regardless, it's a really big step so we can move forward with the use of the preserve. We have interim trails in there that need to get away from vernal pools that are now protected. And there's still a lot of work to be done up there, but it's a very big step.
So what's happened in the preserve? Oh, go ahead, Paul.
Oh, no, that's what I was gonna ask.
What's
What
happening?
kind of forest management are they doing there?
Well, the forest management plan will include a public use plan, but also silviculture. At some point, harvesting. Which that funding any money made from any harvesting will go to a fund to preserve the preserve. With that, we're still working out a hunting plan in the preserve. The DEP, I forget the name of the outfit in DEP, has deemed the preserve very huntable in terms of the square miles that it entails. There are smaller state forests that have hunting with trails. And this is actually larger than a lot of them. So the question is what type of hunting will be in the preserve? Whether there is viable hunting, they deemed it to be allowed, whether it's viable or not. There's so much freaking activity in the preserve right now with trails that we hope to manage eventually because they need to be cut down. The amount of trails needs to be cut down. Mountain bikers are creating trails everywhere where there shouldn't be trails. Something similar to what Sue just said in terms of protecting vernal pools and sensitive areas. The forest management plan hopefully will start addressing all of that in due time. Ray said we were hoping to get it done in August of 24. We were actually hoping to get it done in August of 2017.
Yeah, right.
But it just didn't, it was a slog to get here and we finally did get there. And now we're moving forward on that, so.
The important part of this is that this is part of steps that have to be taken so that then we can use the monies already set aside by the state for use within the preserve. We have a bucket of money, some 200,000.
I thought it was even more than that.
Yeah, and so that can't be used until we already have these plans and set. So this is just one of the steps. So then we can use those monies set aside specifically to help the preserve, to use in the preserve.
And with those funds, once we do use them, require any kind of local match, or is that just a bucket available for our use?
Those are just state set aside funds. I'll have to go through the state.
One-time funds.
That's a good question.
One-time funds, they were set aside when the state and the town purchased the preserve.
Because we either had
The stewardship.
Yeah.
Ray, can I ask, while we're on accomplishments, a couple of years ago, we put in the Frisbee golf. How is that going?
That is amazingly busy.
Great.
You can go in the park and I'm sure there's cars in there right now, people playing. It's quite amazing. It's really opened up the that piece of parcel of land to other people to walk it to. So we encourage people to walk the course. If you get back into holes 9, 10, and 11, they're really set far back at Clark Community Park. And it's in an area that there's no undershrubs and anything. The canopy is really high. It's very quiet. It overlooks the swamp. It's beautiful. No one has ever really been back there, right? So it's just a really interesting area of that particular piece of land. That's great, but people use it all the time.
And to tell you that during the full moon recently, they were playing disc golf in the full moon.
Wow. Cool.
And I was like totally amazed. I was looking for owls, but that's okay. But they were out there. I think it was a group of 7. And they didn't really need headlamps because, you know, it was a nice evening. It was cold. But to use 24/7, pretty much.
So when we first started that project, there was one question asked from, I'm not sure if it was this board or the zoning board, how will we get the frisbees out of the pond? So we have to, you know, go over the pond. And I never thought it'd be an issue, but there is one particular gentleman that has fished out 65 frisbees. So they've got them, which is good. It does happen, so.
Kind of like me and my golf balls.
Yeah, exactly. Any other questions on accomplishments or objectives?
A question on objectives.
Yeah.
Some of the capital requests I see on objectives, and
Yeah.
then there's other things that look like capital projects that are not on capital requests. So just talk a little bit about either wishes versus actual obtainable
So
objectives.
some of them are certainly money that we have in the books that we have to spend, simply couldn't spend it in the fall. It'll be done in this particular spring. Some of them will be upcoming capital expenses, and some of them, for example, like foul poles at Kavanaugh Park, something I can take out of my budget if we needed to, very small. There's some other ones, obviously, some bigger ones, like find a location for a dog park. That's not happening overnight, we all know that, so.
Right, but it's finding the location, not
Right, finding-
not building a dog park.
Yeah, it's like your backyard, that's
Yep.
fine.
That's where that trail got me.
So dog park, I mean, just 30 seconds on a dog park. Dog park should be centrally located. It shouldn't be in the middle of nowhere. And I had a great location. I approached the property owner and he wasn't interested in leasing or selling part of it in front of Stop and Shop, right? Stop and Shop, former skate park, or as you, all the way on the west side, there's where they have that old oil tank, you know, for fundraising. That's 2 acres there. That's almost a perfect size. That is a perfect size for a dog park. Out of the way, plenty of parking, but it's hard to find. And painting and paving Harvey's Beach is not quite as simple.
No.
Because it's putting that much impervious surface down right there might be an issue with DEP or anything like that, so.
Just things I wanted the board to be aware of, maybe coming down the pipeline. So- So at the conclusion of the budget here, we show an overall increase of $30,500, $19,100, which is fixed, leaving us 11,400 of budgetary increase. So our total increase of 3.4% for all 4 of our budgets, which is right in line where we wanted to be. And that's the budget itself. Any line item questions or any other questions?
Any questions?
George, I do. I think we're gonna get to the capital budget in a little bit. So,
Yes.
Since you paused here, let me add a couple of things. And, 2 separate questions. One is, I need to understand a little bit more in terms of how this building up the sinking fund works, right? Because we talked about, this is just last year, the first time, right, we were gonna throw in $100,000, I guess, from that 440 back into the sinking fund, right? And that works. And then, and also you guys have $2 from every mini golf.
So approximately 5 years ago, this board made a motion to allow $2 of every sale someone comes in a mini golf to pay $7, that's when we increase the rate from 5 to 7. That $2 increase would then be put into the sinking fund to help obviously fund some of our projects moving forward in our strategic plan.
So between that $2 last 5 years plus the 100,000, your sinking fund is at $500,000?
514,000.
And 150,000 from ARPA came in too, correct?
No,
No,
that was
that's separate.
89,000 from ARPA.
89,000 from ARPA, okay.
That's impressive. Okay, and then the rest with the beach, Harvey's Beach, and then all the other things.
That's totals the 440, yeah, so beach passes, Harvey's Beach, and minus the $2 from the rest of the mini golf.
But that includes the 100,000 that you get back?
I'm not positive how they're taking out the 100,000, but.
Yes, that will,
That-
we'll do that at the end of the fiscal year and it will go into the.
And, Leanne and I, and we'll present it to the board of selectmen, are going to look at possibly, adding to that amount.
Sure.
That 100,000 that comes off the top.
I see.
So we created that because of our strategic plan of improving our parks. And our biggest park that we really want to zero in on now, as we've done the others, is the Clark Community Park. Because it was done in the early 70s and it really hasn't been that improved except for the ball fields and our disco. So how do we get to a $1 million plus project with zero money? And this is how we created that, and we're always asking for more to go in it, because that $1 million plus, just the dollars keep adding, the more time we spend before we make the plan. So we're trying to look forward fiscally and understand that our parks need to be updated, they need to be improved, they need to be corrected with some of the items that we have there are not ADA applicable, they're not even safe playground style right now. They don't even comply to the safety grounds, so we're trying to get that updated, but all of that's a dollar sign. And so that's where we're constantly putting money into that fund.
George, if I may, but then my other question, completely related to this question about the sinking fund. It's just my ignorance. You did this last year, and this one again, you have a pie chart. And I do not understand that part. I didn't understand last year. I think the first year, I'll pass this year, here again. I don't understand the pie chart, so you can help me out of it, just so that I won't keep getting that one.
Yeah. So I took the total amount of all our budgets, which is $905,000.
Okay.
And that pie chart has six different things that I put into it. Our salaries, which is the larger blue upper right-hand quadrant, that represents 62% of that 905,000. The darker blue is insurances. And then as we go around to the right, that's maintenance that comes out of it. And then the other, just other things that are in the budget, I couldn't really classify what they were, so we made them color. And then the utilities is the red. So I just made a little piece of what our 905,000 represents on one half. And the other half is essentially what we bring in.
So what it looks like is this pie chart is a mix of expenditures and revenues.
Right, correct.
So, but that's why it kind of doesn't add up.
Right, but the pie though, right, but when person looks at pie, right, the size of the pie represents that purple, the purple is $400,000.
Right.
The other part is 900,000.
Correct. I just wanted to show, you're absolutely right. No, you're absolutely right. I wanted to show in a visual how the 440,000 represents half of what we actually spent. That's how I wanted to represent it.
I see. Yeah. Good. I'm sorry, it's just.
Yeah.
It's like an overview.
It's something.
Other
You know what?
questions?
Yeah, I'm sure you have it in here, but the purple, it'd be interesting to see the revenue breakout.
Right, okay.
You know,
Yeah,
Sure.
I don't have
Yeah.
a question, I just have a actual request. Every day I drive my wife down to the beaches, and every day I hear the same issues. One of them is at the town beach, there's a wall after you step down from the pavilion. And she thinks that's a hazard to people of a certain age. I'd be in one of those age groups. And she wants to know why it's there or why something can't be done about it. Also at the town beach, she complains about the speed of the people going around the lot. And the lack of a sign saying maybe beware of children, because a lot of kids just dart out from cars. And she thinks that's an issue. I happen to agree with that one. The other thing is the signage, both at the Harvey's Beach and at the town beach. If you're driving, you can only see the sign in one direction at Harvey's Beach. And it's a very small sign, and I know there are limitations on signings in town. The coloration is not visible really from the street telling you what it is. I
You're talking
know
about
that
main
cataracts,
signage
that
says-
is my problem, but I just want to get your feeling on it.
So the main sign that says the description of what it is, right? Is that what you're talking about?
On
The blue signs up there?
Yeah, the blue signs, you can't really see them. If you're doing the speed limit, you can't see them. If you're speeding, you definitely can't see them.
The larger. Shouldn't be speeding.
I never.
The larger blue sign at Harvey's is set back because we can't put a larger sign up by the road per regulation. That's why the smaller hanging one is up there, yeah. I don't know how.
And
else
we
to
had to make them
address that.
similar to all other, our signs in town. You know, we have to go through the architectural review board and the town zoning, and they wanted symmetry with all the signs and the design of them and where they are, so we're hindered by that as well.
To State Road, in the parking lot, maybe we can talk about putting speed humps or speed
would
bumps.
work in the parking lot.
I think
for sure.
that's an easy solution,
Yep.
so,
We have one at Harvey's anyway. so-
yeah, I mean, that's a
Yeah.
good idea, John. We
Yeah.
could probably put 2 in there and that would probably do the trick.
Absolutely.
So I'll leave that to you to talk to Bill about.
We will do that
Okay.
because that's a good, there are a lot of
The other
kids.
thing is
There's
that
a lot of
wall.
kids. Yeah,
Sorry,
this,
you got a
the
question
town,
on that?
the town beach for the stone wall, that was created to save the sand. That's part of the problem, and that was created, you know, like 1930. We're talking way, and that's why sometimes you see this up, that stone wall, sometimes you don't. But it does save the sand erosion for, big storms. It also saved the, pavilion there many times because the waves will hit that stone wall before they hit the pavilion. What we can do with that, I don't know. I mean, maybe we can look at maybe making the break wider and making, more of a train down, but we're also cognizant of the fact that that is a storm-related beach. Any storm coming from a different direction, can, you know, just erode that beach. So, you know, we work with what we have.
So we did have stairs going off that wall for a lot of years.
Yeah, no.
One storm literally destroyed the stairs. We never put them back because we made the handicap access around to the left of it. So I didn't really want to direct people down in front. We want to direct them off to the side of each side. So one reason why I didn't put stairs back, plus they're not handicap accessible. We wanted to do a ramp originally from the middle down, and that ramp would have ended up about 10 feet into the water with the rise and the run, so we couldn't really even do it. That's why we went off to the left, so.
Thank you for your responses. I'll have a conversation.
Good luck.
The executive board at the.
Have a call.
On the capital requests.
We have a.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, every year I bother you about the condition
Sure.
of town beach. This year it looked a lot better, the sand and the beach itself,
Paul, I can honestly say I did not take any of the shells out by hand. We did not actually take a machine down there and do anything. All the rocks, so I think it's really just the way the storms.
it's just the,
The way the storms roll in, and one year we'll have covered rocks and one year we won't.
So I
because
got,
the kids were able to run down to the
Yeah.
water this year.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely,
And
yeah.
in the past couple of years,
Couldn't,
the rocks and the shells were so bad, they just couldn't.
I know.
and I received all those complaints.
Yeah, I know.
And this year, I received complaints about the gnats, which I immediately forwarded to Ray.
The gnats?
do about the gnats? That's nature.
And Ray didn't take care of it.
So move on.
Just
Let's move on.
derelict.
Actually, they asked me to be down here.
And I'm not kidding, I'm not kidding.
Not really.
I had somebody complain about fiddleheads
Mhm.
in the cove, and it was like, really?
So, couldn't have even,
Yeah.
okay, we're on our way to capital requests. Have, and just so I know, these have all been reviewed by the capital committee?
Yes.
Correct. So there are, essentially, there's 8 on this list, but I kind of grouped them together with game tables and water fountains together, so it's really 5 different requests. First one is a new scoreboard for Kavanaugh Park. With our strategic plan moving forward, we hope to have a new set of fields at Clark Community Park, which would eliminate our baseball field that are up there. So Little League still needs a place to play some Little League games. We certainly have McMurray Field out in the back here as their main flagship field, but they're gonna need another field. So Kavanaugh Park was kind of lagging behind in any type of amenities back there. That's why I added the fence. And I'd like to add this scoreboard out there to make it another field that Little League would be proud to use and would be able to use anytime they want to. And they're gonna need it. So because we're eliminating one, we've always had this field, but it's always been a field that hasn't really been used at all because it really didn't have anything to offer. Now that the fence is up there, it's a full 200-foot field, which is required at the Little League level. And I'd like to put a scoreboard up there because who doesn't like playing baseball without a scoreboard, right? So this scoreboard would also be able to do some soccer games, score soccer games, so on and so forth. So the quote, you can see what it looks like right here. It would actually say Kavanaugh Park on it. That's the actual design of it. And the quote for it, and that includes installation with what it needs to be put on.
Ray, I don't know whether when you went through this with the capital committee that Brad may have asked this question as well, but Brad and I have talked about just the issue of whenever we're going out for a significant capital expenditure, making sure that we get more than one quote. Is Nevco kind of the only provider, or would it be helpful to try to get, as long as we're in the discussion phase, at least one other, if not 2 other?
I could get it. They're not the only scoreboard provider. They are who we have dealt with in the past. When we renovated the one at McMurray, this is who I used. The vendor is actually a local person. Makes it a lot easier. They know the facilities, they know the parks.
I think it'd be helpful just to have it in your pocket, so you know,
Sure.
and so Nevco knows that you're also doing.
And if he is on the state DAS list as a provider statewide, or a member of the national network called Sourcewell, which he very well might be.
Sure.
That would help. Then you know you're getting a competitive bid.
Absolutely.
Right now, is that scoreboard powered? Electric?
Yeah, it's electric, yes.
Have you thought of solar?
I don't know if they make a solar option. I don't know if it's, I really don't know. I've never seen a solar scoreboard truthfully. I'm sure there's options these days, but. So that's the scoreboard at Kavanaugh Park. New fencing for McMurray Field. If you think about the field that's right out back here, that fencing is well over 25 years old. The fencing around the backstop area from home plate to like first base is 8 feet high and extends in the back to like 25 around behind home plate. That is some newer fencing right there. But the actual outfield fence from essentially first base line all the way around the field to the third base line is really, really old. Approximately 15 years ago, it was painted silver to hide all the rust. I don't know if any of you guys actually know that, but it was painted. So the fencing now is leaning over in center field. It has got some broken gates. It just needs replacing. Part of to replace this right now is McMurray's only about 180 feet. I'd like to raise the field fencing from 4 feet to 6 feet. That would go around the outfield, and that would increase the height, obviously, which increase the distance that you'd hit a home run for. So it would bring it to about 190 feet. It also will protect the firehouse a little bit more. I've had complaints from Chief Johnson of baseballs hitting cars that are parked back there, breaking windshields, things of that nature. So, to replace the fence and make it a little higher, would help that as well. We have a lot of kids that go out there and play home run derby. It is one of our only fenced fields. That's what kids do, you know, so they play home run derby. So, will it help that? Hopefully. We can also look into the future, maybe netting around a right field to protect that parking lot even more. But the fence is old and it is in need of some repairs. So, I'd like to try to replace that fence. I have talked to Little League about that. And they are in favor of replacing that as well. It would be replaced with the normal yellow fence top there that's out there, that's safety wise. And it would be 4 foot around from essentially first base to the right field flag foul pole. Same thing on the left field side, so people can still stand on the sidelines, normal leaning on it. But the outfield fence would be 6 foot. I considered making it 8 foot, but I didn't want to make it look like a prison. So, you know, I think 6 is a good compromise at this point in time.
Throw a little green monster out there.
Yeah, we could do that too. That would kind of be cool. But
It might have a negative impact on kids' self-esteem though, because it's gotta feel good to break a windshield with a home run.
yeah, this is being recorded. Next on the wish list here is a new scrubber for the recreation center. The recreation center, believe it or not, is 20 years old now. I can't believe it myself. And that floor machine is used at least twice a day, Monday through Friday, to clean the gym floor and the regular floors that are out there. You know, it still works. We've replaced a lot of different parts on it, and the maintenance guy who comes in and looks at it says it's pretty much on its last leg. So I'm looking for a new floor machine for the rec center. It looks like this, very similar to what we have now. One big difference on this particular floor machine, you look in the front of it, it's got a square box down below. That's what houses the scrubbers. So right now ours are round. So if you can try to put a round peg into a square corner just to clean it, it doesn't really work that great in the corners. This would help out with that in the corners where we all know dust and stuff accumulates. So, but you know, the floor, the gym floor is our main use for this particular machine. That floor has a 25-year lifespan on it or so, and it'll probably exceed that. But just because of this floor machine, if we didn't have the floor machine, basically what would happen is you could sweep it every day you want, but you'll have dirt that gets on there. That dirt acts as like a sandpaper when you're out there with your shoes, and it would just take the surface right off it. So a floor machine is really essential for keeping the gym floor looking as good as it does look, and our other floors too. So we have done some more research with the school department, see if they have an older one that they're getting rid of, and they really don't have something that would suffice our needs. So we did look into that as well. And this is the same company that we've been using for years, and we buy all our products from them, our cleaning products. And this is the style that we've had from them. So that's our floor machine. Next request is for 3 new water fountains. Right now we have a water fountain at Fort Saybrook Monument Park and one at Kavanaugh Park. The one at Fort Saybrook Park does not work at the present moment. The one at Kavanaugh Park by the tennis courts does work, and it has been here since I've been here, which is 23 years now, and it is in need of replacement. And I'd like to add one at the pickleball courts. So we do have a water fountain at the bocce courts. The original plan for the pickleball courts was to have one closer to the bathroom that's out there. That just has not happened yet. So I'd like to add a water fountain out there as well. We already have water hookups in all of these spots. So it'd be simply replacing at Fort Saybrook Monument Park and Kavanaugh Park, replacing the existing water fountain. The hookups are there, like I said, and the water does run. We do have water service all the way to the bathroom at the pickleball courts there. And it would simply be hooking up the rest of the piping that needs to go in there with our plumber. The water fountain would look like this. It has a bottle filler on it with some foot pedals underneath. Bottle fillers are pretty important when you get out there these days. None of our water fountains have that capability at this point in time.
Ray, a number of different places I've been have public parks, water fountains, but also have a little area to the side for dogs.
Dogs.
Would you look at that, or is there?
We would, but we try not to encourage all the dogs at Kavanaugh Park, so I kind of, there's a give and take with that, you know, certainly people walk them at Fort Saybrook Monument Park, and there's really not a lot of use over at the pickleball court, so I didn't think it'd really be a need at that particular park.
Plus there's a water fountain by the bocce courts that
That
does
does
have
have-
the dog.
It's got a side, I thought it'd be a little bit different, I thought it'd be a little bowl down there, but it's really just a water spigot that you could fill up a bowl.
Or have a dog drink out.
Oh, yeah, exactly. So those are water fountains I'd like to try to get. The last request is for a couple of concrete tables. And this is what they look like. They are checkers / chess tables with the actual board embedded on the table. This particular round table is one solid piece. I'd like to get 2 of these for the Fort Saybrook Monument Park area. The reason why I would like to go with this design, we have a lot of people that go down there on a daily basis, eat lunch, hang out. People just go out there and sit. And plus we have a new area. If you think about part of our plans from last year was to take all the rocks out of mini golf that are in the front there. So we'll have a large space up there. Once all those rocks are done, there'll be an area that I'd like to put this particular table up there. Just imagine sitting down there playing some checkers or chess with your friend, looking at the water. And the reason why I went with this particular style, it's one piece, so people can't pick them up and throw them in the water. That's why all our tables are down there just like that. You may laugh, but it has happened. That's why we changed the style. We used to have individual benches down there, and those benches would end up in the river on a daily basis.
It's terrible.
It is terrible.
Plus, if you notice the storms, we're constantly putting the rocks back, so
Right.
let's get rid of the rocks, but I doubt that a big wave will be able to move that table like they do those stones.
Exactly.
So we're conscious of that too.
So that's one particular style table I'd like to get. The other style looks like this. It's a smaller square table. And I'd like to put 2 of these over at the bocce court area.
But it only seats 2 people.
Well, you only play 2 people when you're playing checkers.
Oh. What if you want to get lunch? You want
You
4
could-
people?
well,
You can still eat lunch.
I'd have to look into buying the benches individually. I don't know. I'd have to look
At
into that.
315 pounds, you could just move the stool over.
I don't think I could do that myself.
So
The space at the bocce courts is a little bit different than the space at Saybrook Point Inn, so we have to be cognizant of that.
and these could be movable if we don't like the spot that they're in, but again, this is a park that's I'd like to call it a somewhat passive park. You know, we certainly have bocce there, but we have a whole area that's just free and open. I just want to have more amenities in that particular park for people to do. I look at this park as a park for older adults to go out and enjoy. I think this would be something that they could enjoy while they're playing bocce or just hanging out in the park.
What's the estimated life of these?
They're concrete, that's a great question. I'd have to look and see if there's any type of warranty, but I can't imagine them being less than 15 years or
I'm
so.
just thinking about the
Yeah,
chest checker insert. whether
yeah,
that-
they're lacquered on top, so,
They can be power washed.
yes, yep. So those are the regular capital projects. Just talking about our year-to-year capital. I broke it up into 2 different phases. Now, the next section of slides is what we talked about, our 2 to 5 year planning. And like I said at the top, these are rough estimates. I have no idea what any of these projects may cost, but I wanted to scare you and to give you an idea of what the Park and Rec Commission and what I'm looking for down the line. Listen, these things might not happen, but we know the paving of Harvey's Beach parking lot, there's a lot to it. But it's something that we need to consider, I think, and these are projects that we'd like to see to fruition eventually. Clark Community Park Strategic Plan, we have our concept plan down. To give you an idea where we are at with that, the commission has approved one of the concept plans. They approved that in December. And we're looking, and our town engineer is working on that project to get it to the next phase. So
is that a strategic plan or is it really starting to do engineering and design work like for
it's all,
actual
that's a start to finish. My 3 million that I have up there, is that what you're talking about?
Yeah.
That's what I guesstimate that the project could cost.
Okay, it's not resulting in a piece of paper that says this is
No.
what you should do. It's
No.
actually getting the project done.
Getting.
Okay, exactly.
That was the study, the plan was done a while ago, right?
Yeah.
This is for implementation.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Good
Yeah.
question.
Yeah, so, yeah, that'd be breaking ground, finishing up, and that, so,
Thank you for the clarification.
Yeah.
Before we go on, I mean, I like this list, right? I mean, besides being scary. I think it sets sort of an idea of where some of the top topics that you want to cover in the next 2 to 5 years. How do you guys prioritize what needs to be done? I mean, I can imagine, maybe the playground having a high priority and say, the dog.
Well, I actually prioritized it in the list the way it is reading right now. Clark Community Park is the number one, because we actually had started that, right? We started that planning process already. Like I said, the concept plan is down. Once we get a little bit more involved, the concept plan will bring everyone involved. The community will have their say in this particular plan as well, so there's gonna be a lot more going on with that particular plan, and that's moving forward. The gym floor I put on there is next, because again, like I just said, the gym, our rec center is 20 years old, and that floor is rated to about 25 years. So it's gonna be in need of replacement. And we don't wanna neglect that. We have a lot of use over there. So the Harvey's Beach one I put third, because I'm just down there on a daily basis in the summer. It's dusty. It's hard for people to walk on. It's hard for people to park. They don't know where they're parking, so, and we make a lot of money down there on a summer basis. So, and then the playground at Kavanaugh Park, I put fourth because, again, it's one of our flagship parks that gets used every day, and that playground is older than I've been here. It's over 25 years old. So there's some pieces in there that we've replaced. It is just in time for some upgrades there. And then the dog park I put last. We've had a couple people come to our commission requesting dog parks, and it's something that we wanted to do in this town for a lot of years now. And really, it's finding space. So, and we don't know where that space would be. That's why I prioritized it last, because we still know where to go. So.
No, I guess the reason why I ask is in your sinking fund right now, you could already pay for some of these projects, right? So
Well, the sinking fund, per the motion that was made, was specifically for Clark Community Park in the strategic plan. So these other projects were not in the strategic plan. So we could pay for some of we're gonna pay for some of the engineering costs that are happening out of that strategic plan, but it's in the motion, it was said just for strategic plan stuff. And it's not for other things.
So when we look at a $3 million net, we've got 500 plus in there now. New budget, there'll be another influx. Sounds like you're getting at least one project started in the ground. What do you talk about 2 to 5 year, is that really 2 to 5 year to get all of the strategic plan projects that Clark done? Or where, I mean, just from a sense of commitment to get to where you want to get to?
From right this day forward to, I would say, I'd love to have that Clark Park redone. People able to use it within 3 years.
However, the current funding sources going into sinking fund would be 3 million.
It would not, no, and we're not even sure that's the right number.
Right.
That's the hard part, right? So. Right. We don't really know what the firm number on that project would be yet. It might be less.
So if we were to put another 100,000 from revenues aside for Park and Rec yearly, plus the mini golf fund, the $2 of mini golf, I mean, you're talking nearly 300,000 a year.
Yeah, right.
And if it's a $1.5 million construct, then you're gonna get there pretty quickly in 3 years. So, you know, and I'm not saying it wouldn't be part of, and whether it's my decision or not. It wouldn't be part of a bond package at some point, who knows, you know, so. I think, yeah.
Let me just interrupt. If it is, then clearly for even thought, clearly we would need harder numbers. So it seems to me, you know the strategic plan, you know what you want to do. You got funding sources geared to this. I think for all of our purposes, this would be a good time to have real hard numbers that we know what we're shooting at. Because let's say there's surplus funds. Let's say, you know, if all of a sudden over the next 2 years, we've got access to dollars, we'll know the priority and be able to, you know, put it in there. If the numbers are flexible and we don't really know, it's hard to say, okay, well, let's put in another 100,000 or whatever the case may be. So I don't know how you get from here to there relative to the numbers, but it seems to me, you know where you want to get to. We ought to figure out what the numbers are.
I think we'll know that when we have our engineers come back with the plan that we just told them of our concept. So that dollar value that you're looking for is really going to be geared to that engineer's plan. But as a chairman, and I'm just going to throw it out here, we just gave the town 400,000. If you town just turned around and said every money that we earn goes back into the fund to improve this, we would get to that point faster. Just
But
saying.
we don't know what the point is. I think that's
exactly
what Bruce is saying.
Is that in progress right now? That
Concept plans in progress.
Yes.
okay, and that could be the basis of how much this project costs.
Sure.
And the timing on that would be.
Yeah, I mean,
Spring?
our engineer has to put some concrete numbers to that plan, so.
Yes.
What I'm saying, what are we talking, you think you'll get this information springtime? Think you'll get this information?
We're hoping.
Yeah.
I mean, we're hoping to move forward with that, so yeah, I mean, it's all on him at this point in time.
Okay.
And his staff.
Thank you.
I'd love to see this project get done.
I know.
Oh, absolutely.
I remember it was 6 years ago that we packed this room, I think, for this
It's
strategic
been about that
plan.
time, yeah.
So I think it's time.
I mean, so as I see it, within 2 or 3 years, let's say 3 years, we're gonna have Ferry Road, we're have a fully developed, pretty much, plan for Ferry Road to reconstruct it. This is something the board heard about before in terms of better drainage there. So this is an entire rebuild of Ferry Road. Steep, so the idea is to apply for a steep grant. Ray is meeting with Jeff on Monday to go over the details of the application for a steep grant, which is due in February, I think, mid-February. Jeff Jacobson has pretty much fully designed that, and we came to this board with actual concrete numbers of what it would take to reconstruct that field, so it's not a wet field. Then when we heard the announcement that steep grants could now be up to $1 million, not limited to 500,000, I said to Jeff, if that's the case, let's apply for a steep grant and let's make that field an A1 field. Let's put a scoreboard there, let's put bleachers there, let's put a better parking lot there, let's give it all the amenities of what people want when they go to a field, which will probably bump the price another 250,000, which is fine.
Yeah, exactly.
And so the idea is to apply for Ferry Road for a steep grant. It'll be less than $1 million, which might play to our favor. I would definitely ask this board to put in probably a 20% match. That will help us, I think, buttress our position going for the steep grant. So let's call it, it could be, let's say, $100,000 match, something like that. I don't know exactly yet. So let's call it 20%. Let's put a percentage on it. So I'm hopeful that within 3 years, you would have Ferry Road, Clark Park under construction, if not completed, and a really good Little League field at Kavanaugh Park and an upgraded McMurray. That does a lot within 3 years. That's a lot. So at least your fields and your parks are a little bit better. Then you might turn your attention to some other areas, which there's some other things bubbling under the surface with some other areas that are defined in the strategic plan, which we may bring forward this spring.
George?
Yeah, I think you began to touch on the topic that I was gonna ask. So we cleared the Ferry Road, there's a grant for that. So I'm sure you guys have looked at grants for Clark Park, but there isn't one for that.
Not yet. We wouldn't, we haven't looked at any grants for Clark Park yet, because it's just a concept at this
So
point.
theoretically, there could be a grant.
Absolutely. There was actually one through the state that came across our desk, I don't know, 2 months ago. But we weren't ready for it yet.
I see.
So if steep grants are $1 million in 2 years or 3 years, yeah, I mean, that could be one of our steep grant applications. Small town economic assistance program.
Okay, any other, are you finished, Ray, or do you want to?
I'm
I
good.
think you pretty well have gone through these, right?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, there's just some stuff that I put in there, but it's not a big deal. I just want to show what a rendition of our new gym floor could look like. This is a rubberized floor. This is not a wood floor. This is a rubberized floor, what we have now. This is the cool thing about technology these days and moving forward with newer stuff. You can make a rubberized floor look like a wood floor. So kind of cool in concept what we could do with it.
Is that rubber now?
Yes,
It is.
it's poured rubber.
Just a random question, but when you do that gym floor, like, what's the time, like, how long it takes, when would you
It'd
do
be
it? I
less
mean,
than a
there's-
week. It's literally going over the floor that we have.
Really?
You don't have to rip up what we have now. It's
Wow.
completely going over the top, since we have a very good surface underneath already. It's a full slate, concrete underneath. No cracks in it whatsoever, so you can just go right over the top of that.
Right, the reason why I asked about the priority, right, something like this, the gym is used all the time, like you said, it's heavily used. $47,000, it's not that much money, but it's gonna wait until up to 3 million spent. This could be a while, right? I thought this would just bump this up, and we'll just do this at some other point.
Well, I put it in the 2 to 5. I mean, I could put it in the yearly next year if we wanted to.
Yeah.
I just wanted to bring these projects to your attention, what could be happening, because 47 is a little bit different than looking for 20.
Absolutely, so, yeah, and, you know, getting this done should be a trivial, more trivial matter.
Yeah.
Okay, other questions, people have for Ray? See? Ray, thank you very much.
Thank you, everyone.
much.
Appreciate it.
One last thing, I just want to say that, both Scott and Matt have, pushed me hard on Park and Rec. In fairness, Scott formerly on Park and Rec, and, you know, Matt just with his enthusiasm, lately, not lately, the last.
Only the last week.
No, but, you know, these guys have really pushed the board for large investments. So I get mentioned, it's really the entire board.
And I just want to comment, I mean, 5 years ago, the first time I was sitting around this table, I was asking to see more of a long-term vision for how we're investing in our parks, and it's great, whether or not it's all there, and we're still trying to, figure out details. It's great to see more than just, let's make some minor improvements in this year's capital budget, and we are really thinking and having a conversation now about how do we make significant infrastructure upgrades to our parks, so thank you.
I mean, with these parks and with lights at the field, Megan Brady, thank you. Very involved in that, you were, I mean, really there's a lot of facilities that should be upgraded in the near term future.
Absolutely.
And that's part of the thing. I mean, we consider 18 assets in this town, and they're pretty much $1 million or more. And so it's refreshing to be able to speak to the Board of Finance, Board of Selectmen, and you're looking at these as assets, as we felt like lone children in the field. We're looking at these as assets, we're going, what's your problem? But to have you actually respond to say, no, this is an asset for town and we need to improve it is refreshing.
Well, we're very unique in the shoreline that a lot of our youth sports programs have people constantly coming from other towns. So what you guys do is like a marketing arm for our town to really get people here. So we need to do it.
Thank you.
Got it. All right, thank you very much. Appreciate it. We take the temperature of the board. Anybody need a 5-minute break, or should we just go ahead and go? Let's take a 2-minute break.
Yeah.
You're welcome, Ray. Good policy.
Stay, yes. Before you're out of here.
Oh, good.
So maybe we want to bring it up, but Emily is leaving the library.
Director position.
Assistant.
Did she get a,
No, she wants to work, she comes from like Brooklyn or.
oh, Connecticut? So up 395 there, yeah.
Oh, wow.
Okay, you're fine.
No. Like up
Brooklyn, Connecticut.
somewhere up
Brooklyn,
there.
Connecticut.
And,
There is no Brooklyn.
yeah, and, so.
Oh, that's tough.
She's had a very good run there. She loves it here. But she's going to Groton, which is an easier drive for her. It might be a little bit more money, but anyway, so we were posting that position.
The library.
Yeah, she's been terrific.
A lot of energy.
But, you know, it's a full-time assistant position. I think you will get excellent candidates.
Enjoy your weekend.
I really do. I'm not,
40 degrees.
that's a position I'm not concerned
Go down to
about.
my stepdaughter's gonna say.
I know Amanda's heartbroken.
Yeah.
I'll see my daughter and my stepdaughter's. Today it's.
She had 45 minutes. Every half an hour and a half a day.
I can do 3 hours each way.
John. Barefoot, uphill, 2 years.
And it smelled everything.
No, not me playing.
Where's it? Where is it? St. Augustine?
St. Augustine.
It's a nice spot. St. Augustine's a nice spot.
And he shows up, so I said,
Use the clicker, go left and right.
I have, I'm getting coffee.
I said like after I get some.
Take the coffee. He's gonna show up at 8. Over an hour each way.
Yeah.
What are you doing?
Gonna do that first, quickly. Whatever.
And on the memo, you don't.
He had a heart attack before you too. I know.
I think we talk about it and then put it on the agenda. Agree with
Okay,
it.
because we're losing members.
Okay, yeah.
Who are you losing?
Megan left.
Megan and Megan left too.
I
Yeah.
was just.
She lost 2 reports.
Every day.
Just had another. She had family.
And it was like the most tedious, it was horrible, you know.
Okay.
Right. Just
Why don't
Megan
we
and Eric. That's it.
Pull
The rest of
ourselves
them are here.
together.
They're just in the restaurant.
together.
Sorry.
And we're now on to other budget issues. And Leanne, you have the floor.
All right, thank you. I'm gonna start with debt management, then go over all of the other outstanding budgets, and then we're gonna end with capital. So, last year you did the heavy lifting on debt management. So this year, hopefully, when we go through this, it's just where we are for today. So this is our outstanding debt by fiscal year. As you can see, it's going down to 0 in about 10 years, pending no other debt issuance. And you all might think, gee, that's great. But as a strategic body, I would say we either borrow money or we put money aside for capital every year. So the way that we look at it at the Capital Planning Committee is we have about $2.5 million worth of debt service, about $1.5 million worth of capital contributions. So that's $4 million. That's about 7.5% of our budget. So as we move forward with all these programs, we have to consider whether we want to have debt outstanding or whether we want to increase the amount of our capital. But either way, you know, that total dollar should be about the same. So at the end of this fiscal year, as we enter 2026, we are going to have We're gonna start with 15.5 million of outstanding principal, and we're gonna end the year with 13.4 million for the upcoming fiscal year. This is our contractual debt service. So this is the amount that we budget, our debt service, our financing costs, our yearly interest payments, principal and interest payments. And for fiscal year 26, that amount is 2,611,587. It's going to be down 48,100. As you know, we use money from the off budget benefit assessments on the sewer bonds, the septic system bonds, to offset this amount. And we also know that coming in fiscal year 27 or 28 thereabouts, we're likely going to be taking out more money for phase 3 of WPCA. This right here, this picture that we're looking at does not take that outstanding debt into consideration. So if you look at fiscal year 27, all else being equal, our debt service would go down by 257,000.
But then Leanne, look at 29, 30, 31.
Yeah.
What's going on?
Nothing.
We're not, yeah, exactly. We don't seem to be continuing to reduce our outstanding debt service. And at a time where we may be adding to it relative to an outstanding bond.
So when you take out a bond, they create a schedule. And sometimes we pay back the loan earlier because it depends on the yield curve, quite frankly, when you're taking out the bond. So probably what happened, because we refinanced all of our debt over the time of period when interest rates were very low, probably this part on the yield curve was the least attractive, so to speak. And so it just didn't relieve a lot. Yeah, it just flattened out. So, but it is what it is. I mean, that's how it all worked out. But it does, decrease a little bit every single year. So, so that's our contractual debt service. This schedule shows with just the $10 million for WPCA, it does not assume taking out borrowing money for any other projects, which we probably will. I would imagine we might.
Well, let's assume a $10 million debt issuance.
Yes.
Let's just say that, whatever it might be for, but the WPCA project is happening, and you're gonna hear more about that Tuesday. We're in test, we're building a test right now. I don't know when that might go to a referendum exactly, but if it goes to when it goes to a referendum, hopefully it will pass. I have no reason to believe it wouldn't, but who knows? Then you would be undertaking whatever debt that project would cost. We are under pressure to, perform this test and get a final result in, but you'd still need to have that test result confirmed by DEP. You'd have to have a whole design built. That would have to get reviewed. I mean, you're definitely talking 2 or 3 years before anything happens. And then if it's a $40 million project, the way we funded in the past typically is, and we don't have to do it going forward, is $20 million out of 40 million. Let's just say actually percentages, 100%, 50% on the homeowner at 2% over 20 years, 25% grant, 25% general obligation bond. We're using a $40 million number. Don't know if that's the number, but that's why we're suggesting 10 million. But we may have other projects that we're talking about. We talked about DPW. I don't know if we'll need anything for the library. I don't know if we'll need anything for Park and Rec. There's also the communications tower, which the chief has talked about over the years, which is about $1 million, I think, upgrade. So anyway, there's stuff out there, and I probably spoke too much right
No.
there, but
No, that was good, but of all of that, we took $10 million into consideration for this. And if we did nothing, this point here was the slide before, year 2027 was going down 250,000. With the debt issue, it's going up 350,000. And as you know, we want to use the off-budget benefit assessment cash flows to make our debt service manageable through all budget cycles. So here's what we have in off.
Yeah.
Go backward.
However, fiscal year 27 really wouldn't be when we would be doing a bond, just based on what Carl just.
Probably not.
Yeah, it sounds like more like 28 at the earliest.
I'm guessing.
Yeah.
And if that occurs, then we would just rejigger our benefit assessment cash flows.
Well, the other option, yeah, that's a financial.
Yes.
The other option is you look at the $257,000 and you don't take it towards the mill rate. You put it into maybe a debt reserve account, and therefore you have the money, and that is a potential too, right?
Correct, yes.
So, you don't just let the money flow to the bottom line.
We keep debt service equal and transfer that out.
Yes.
Right, but also if you go to 28, because at that point you have over $500,000.
Yes.
And at that point, you wouldn't even have an increase in debt, you would just keep your debt service.
So this is what we're getting to.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Sorry. So can I
Yeah,
think it's
go ahead.
important, really important to back up, because we live this every day, you don't. And let's talk about the benefit assessment. Let's,
This one right here?
yeah, let's really talk about this so everybody understands it. Right now, we have $1 million sitting aside, correct? I want to make sure I speak correctly too. We have $1 million. That $1 million is from people who were in the WPCA program who either refinanced or sold their home. And as a result, they had to pay whatever the debt was, whatever the lien was on their property. So those are prepayments. However, when we refinanced at super low interest rates years ago, it was a better deal for us to take out the 2% money that we owed to the state and put it into our refi package. So we don't owe the state any money. We just have debt service because we were getting our WPCA 2% money through the Clean Water Program. But we refinanced that. Whatever we owed, we refinanced. And now we just have debt service that we owe to financial institutions who bought our debt.
We took a revenue bond, which was what is called for the benefit assessment bonds, because those were supported by the underlying revenues that would be paid back by the residents. We turned it into a general obligation bond. We refinanced at less than 2%, so we saved about $600,000 doing that.
What she said. But we have this money, which was supposed to be, which we amortized when we refinanced. We re-amortized that debt over the course of the next 10 years or so, back then 15 years. And these are prepayments that we just can't take. It has to go towards paying off the debt. So we have this money out there and we want to use it to make sure that as we borrow, where you see less in coming up over 3 years, we can still, with a $10 million borrowing, use these funds plus our declining debt service to have either a flat or declining debt service every year. Make any sense based on what Leanne? Okay. I just think it's really important to, I mean, that's complicated. I mean, that's very unusual, what we're showing you right now. So when I read this, I'm like, and I don't mean to, I hope I'm not speaking in a way that makes you guys feel like, we know everything and you don't, but I think it's really important to understand what that is.
Just asking it another way.
Yes,
So
please.
we would take the $2.6 million and we would use that over several years to keep our debt service flat, rather than and still bond for the potential 10 million rather than bonding for, what is that, 7.4 million,
Right,
right? Okay,
because that would still give us lumpy cash
Right.
flows, which we want to keep things even. We don't want to have our budget going like this.
got it,
That's our
thank you.
goal. So, this is a schedule of how we would use those benefit assessment funds. We used 80,000 last year. Last year, we said we would use 130,000 this year, which is what I have in the model. And then, going forward, the line in the yellow is how much we would use. We get in about $142,000 a year from the people that haven't sold or refinanced. That's just what their payment stream is. And then there's our 1,021,000 that goes all the way out to the end. And then years 33 to 40 is the 629. So if you add all that up, it comes to the 2,000,006 on the page before.
George, so can I, since we're still on the benefit assessment, just, you explained this last year, and I thought it was brilliant what you guys have done. And you explained again, I thought it was still brilliant. How you guys pulled it off is amazing, but nevertheless, so this was part of the this was part of the, I don't know what the initial was, WPC, right? And so the third phase, are there gonna be more homes going into that?
Yes.
And so they will all have a benefit assessment type,
Yes,
the 2%, whatever it is gonna be.
yes.
So when that phase goes in, we'll be collecting 2% as well from,
We're not collecting 2%.
well,
Well, yeah, we'll be collecting repayment,
sure.
and that will offset any new general obligation bond. Those will be,
So the new bond will be a revenue bond.
yeah, that's true.
There's at the interest rate that the state will provide to the residents as well as to the town is 2%. And in this market, we cannot beat that, so we would not refinance. So the town would have, let's use the $40 million example, we'd have a new $10 million bond at 2%. That's what gives us that extra $610 of interest and principal payments. And then the residents would, for their piece, however they parse it out, would repay the other 20 million, and each person would have a piece of that. And then they would have a debt schedule just like we would. And every May and November, their payments are due and
And that would not be part of our schedule.
But their 2% goes to,
the revenue bond.
I see, but if a house in that third phase gets sold, and so that payment is accelerated, who gets?
Then we pay off the debt faster. We can, the clean water debt principal and interest can be paid on demand. Cannot, these general obligation bonds, you have to pay it when they tell you. Yeah,
Or you could put it into the budget.
or we could put it into the off-budget account. Yeah.
What determines what kind of bond you use? I know the revenue bond has a direct impact on the rate. What really determines that? And also, what has the bond consultant said on a trajectory of the bond rate over the year? I mean, you're making plans now. What are they saying about the bond interest rate?
So a revenue bond is a bond that is paid back because the source of revenue is known. So in this case, the revenue of the benefit assessment. The 2% rate is a clean water fund rate offered by the state. It's a discounted rate. And it doesn't have anything to do with the bond market or our bond consultant or anything. It's a program offered by the state. And the payment schedule for those types of bonds is like a mortgage, you know, it's kind of paid down automatically on a very direct amortization schedule.
And they have the lowest interest rate, I'm sure.
And they have the lowest interest
So,
rate.
but what's the projected rate? I mean, we're looking out.
I don't understand.
Projected rate that we would
Projected
borrow,
rate.
that you're assuming.
2%.
2%.
We get the
because
same
that's
2%
the
as
normal
they
rate.
do.
You're talking about general obligation bonds also, right?
No, I am talking about the town would also borrow a clean water fund bond. It is
Okay.
considered a general obligation because we would have to pay for it from our mill rate or whatever. We don't have a revenue stream like the other bonds do.
Right, okay.
So yes, that's good question, John. On the WPCA program, the town also borrows at 2%. However, on a general obligation bond for Park and Rec or Public Works, it's whatever the market is.
Right.
And that could be, I don't know what,
3% for, I don't know what the market is
I don't
off
know
the
what
top
the
of my head
market
either,
is right
but
now.
Well,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
projected higher, so that's why I'm
Yes.
asking the question.
yes, so if we were to borrow for something else at a market rate, it would be higher than the 2%.
So it would impact your plan. Really,
It would
Rob.
impact the plan. Yes, it would. Yes,
Thank you.
yes. Okay,
And one other thing. When you're borrowing, and Leanne, again, correct me if I'm wrong, you can say, hey, we have some of the, if we do all this together, the WPCA project and maybe even some other projects at the same time, we can say, we want some higher payments in the, you can structure it whatever way you want. So if we have some extra revenue that we're able to throw at bond payments to keep, so that there's a more precipitous drop in years 3 through 5 or 6 through 10, and we just need to get there, we can structure it in a way that we can come to this board and say, hey, can we use some capital 150 in capital non-recurring this year? We'll keep it flat and then we'll start dropping next year, so we can structure it. And we can bring in our financial consultant to maybe go over that.
So all the bonds have prepayment clauses?
they can, yes, they're called callable bonds, and we are the ones, when they're issued, that we can call that in and prepay early.
Some, I mean,
Some do,
well, yeah,
and then we refinance, gives us the option if rates have fallen to
Yeah.
refinance, or we could pay it off depending on.
but they're not automatically callable whenever we want.
Well,
A general obligation bond.
it is, but we would not, we do the call, we make the
Okay.
decision to call, and our financial advisors do that on our behalf. And it is based on what's going on in the market. I mean, we wouldn't call a bond if our thing is
Right.
3% and the market's
So that would
at
be,
4%.
Right.
So but it does happen.
Yeah, question on the schedule here, the yearly benefits assessment payment, is that from the houses that are currently in the program?
yes,
And as it continues to go out all the way to fiscal year 40, at any point does this start to assume this third phase?
No,
Okay.
and good point, by fiscal year 40, these will all be paid off.
So that's the end
That's
date
the
of
end of
what's currently in the
Phase 1
program.
and 2 is over at that point. And so if we add this next phase, then we're gonna see a different
Okay,
cash flow.
thank you.
So if we apply the rates that are in yellow to our contractual debt service, the net, I call it net debt service, is outlined here. And our debt service for fiscal year 26 would be 2,481,588 versus the contractual amount of, which I showed on the first or second chart, of 2.6 million and change. We're using that 130,000. Last year, we used 80,000, I think.
Yeah.
And our net debt service was 2,579,000 versus the budgeted amount of 2,481,000 for fiscal 26, or a decrease of 98,000. So there's a lot of different numbers. If you look at the contractual debt service, it decreases at one set of rate. If you look at the way we're doing it using this benefit assessment, it decreases at a different rate. So year over year, our debt service is going to go down $98,000. And then you can see where we are, assuming fiscal year 27 assumes that we refinance that 10 million. What we'll do next year is we'll know if that's going to happen in fiscal year 27, and we would just figure it out.
it won't be next year.
It won't be next year.
I can tell you that.
Jigger it, I think.
Jigger it. Jigger it. New term.
Add that to the dictionary.
Okay, so, obviously, these are the benefits. The biggest one is, of course, the mill rate.
So the idea is to have flat or declining debt.
Right.
And we have the capability of doing that. So Leanne, for the last 2 years, has been on my case in the sense of we have to start using some of this benefit assessment money because it's piling up.
Yeah.
And so, as the financial advisor in the room, she is saying, I strongly recommend we start applying these funds because they're meant to be paid. They're meant to be paid out for debt service. So.
Let's see.
All right, are we ready to move on to the department budgets?
Yeah.
George.
So I guess your last one, the budget debt service for fiscal year 26, that does not include the projected dates of the fiscal year.
26, fiscal 26.
No, but with the chart going out.
Yes, it does. It assumes the 10 million.
Wait, 26?
Fiscal year 27.
27.
I'm sorry, but I've already,
Yeah.
I've already.
But the last, the step.
The second to last page.
George, this chart,
Correct.
okay,
Is that
for what year?
Yes, it includes the 10 million.
the projection of?
The projection of the 10 million, it includes it, yes.
Starting in 27.
Or whenever.
Yep. So you can see on the first, the contractual one, it would have gone down to 157. If we don't issue, and then on the next page, it shows it goes up 300 and something thousand that year. And then on the last page, we kind of have it, phased in. Yep. I can't figure this thing out, so does anyone mind if we just go by hand? Larry, if you're there, help me. I can't find, I thought he had all my, oh, maybe he's doing that. I don't know where. Okay. Oh, various departments, that one right there. Do I have to share my screen, Larry?
Yes, just a minute.
All right. I'll start while he gets this thing, because for anybody that's online, they might want to see it. But basically, for this part of the presentation, we're going to, with the exception of Tuesday night, next Tuesday, we're gonna see Youth and Family Services and
Land use.
land use. Thank you, Bruce. And so by the time today is over, we will have looked at every single line item on the budget so that the Board of Selectmen and the Board of Finance, yes, George.
I'm sorry, I didn't cut you off.
Oh, that's okay, right?
I noticed that beginning of slide you had sort of the projection timeline for the budgets. Will we actually get a final Board of Ed? Because the one they presented was sort of the Board of Ed had not accepted the budget yet. So will we actually get a final from them and a final one from police as well? So they'll be scheduled at some point this evening?
Yes, so according to the budget process, January 15th, all the department budgets are due to the first selectman, which includes the police department. The Board of Education budget is due by March 1st.
Yeah.
Yours, you have to vote on the Board of Selectmen budgets, which I'll talk about some of the changes that we know about that between January 15th and February 15th, the Board of Selectmen can make changes too. The Board of Ed doesn't have that middle piece. It goes directly from Board of Ed to Board of Finance. And so that budget, if they do, they have time to make changes up till
March 1st.
March 1st. So yes, they'll tell me and then I'll put it in. I need to know their number so I can figure out the mill rate projection. And then there's changes going on right now for the Board of recommendations for the Board of Selectmen going on right now. And then they'll finalize that one by February 11th, I think it is, and then it goes to you for March 1st. So the police budget, you've already communicated with the chief.
Right. So the chief did reach out and ask whether or not he was going to be brought back to a Board of Finance to discuss the budget. And he was looking for being able to set his personal vacation schedule. And what I let him know was that I felt that once we got the budget, town budget from the Board of Selectmen, we would be discussing the police budget again, and that we would let him know when that was going to be. But at this point, I didn't set a date specific. And I think the same thing will be with the Board of Education, that we should plan, I think, as a board, that once we receive the Board of Education's budget, we ought to have another meeting. The focus of that meeting is not to go through all the slides, but to really say, okay, we heard you in January. Any changes since January? Thank you very much.
There's plenty of time in March.
Right.
In February.
So at this point, and again, this budget is a moving target, but the general government budget from our department heads was up 466,000 or 2.4%. You're seeing all these numbers with their presentations. I just went over the debt service, which was down 98,000, and you saw the Board of Ed up 1.1 million and change, 3.76. So that we're at this point looking at a townwide budget of just under 1.5 million or 2.9%. The drivers of the general government budget, and I'm sure they apply also to the Board of Ed budget because they're very similar, but we had salary increases, and we have had those salary increases due in part to a lot of full-time positions, increasing of hours, new hours, et cetera, which we haven't had in many years, but now it makes sense for us to do that. So we've included those into the budget. Inflation, again, we'll see operational increases. And we also like to incorporate our strategic planning into our debt service and long-term capital on a regular basis as part of our budget process.
Yeah, I'm sorry to interrupt. Two
It's
things.
okay.
One is, the general government of 466 does not include already the reduction of the debt service.
It does not. When you add the two together, it's about 365.
And then I think also, just in my looking at the increases, salaries are important, but I think there's also a number of different places where, because of the time, what we've added somewhat significantly to, on a percentage basis, is the healthcare costs. And so I think we should bear in mind that, yeah, I think it's a great idea that we are moving people, giving more hours and moving them into more full-time, but we're also then picking up a significant difference in healthcare costs.
Yeah.
We are, but it's not going to occur this year. Just ironically, it depends on what the employees decide to choose. We have no choice over that. And we made AAs, for example, administrative assistants in town hall, full-time, 3 of them, they're all waiving. So, but if we go and hire somebody else, they might
Right.
choose a family plan. So we never know. We never know when that's going to occur. And so we've just been, I don't want to use the word fortunate. It's fortunate for our budget, but with the choices the employees have made, you're going to see that benefits are actually down.
Got it. Okay, thank you.
Okay. Okay, so salaries are up 4.73. And again, on that memo that I sent out and with all of your discussions with these different departments that have had increases, they've all been outlined. I'm happy to discuss any, if you have any lingering discussions on salaries, but I think you've been exposed to all of them. Benefits are down 2.15%. Operational expense up 2.04%. Capital is up 2.79%, and that has a little bit to do with the recommendation we're going to talk about at the end, where we are taking some of the money out of the individual departments and adding it to our capital budget. Debt service down 3.8%, and then the total general government budget up 1.7%. The 1.7 includes the up 466 less the 98,000.
And just so I can, the general government budget up 1.7 obviously includes all the debt service, which it didn't years ago. We were having the Board of Ed carry debt service on an item that they had bonded on years ago. And we moved that over a long time ago. So I think it's fair to, say that the general government budget is up 1.7%. If you look over an old line and their budget was up 8%, it's because they have a debt service payment in their budget. Which I don't know how normal that is, that you would include a general government bond on the ledger of the school, Paul. I don't know if you, but it was, as my recollection was, it was highly unusual. So we moved all the school debt in our town over to the general government obligation, and it's reflected in this, so.
Said otherwise, we pay for all the school's debt. Okay. Government salaries, they're up, let's see, 385,000 or 4.73%. The biggest drivers of that 385,000 is the police department up 106,000 salaries. That's not unusual, especially when they have a lot of younger officers, because their step salary increases are a lot larger. They had holiday replacement was up 72,000. And the chief went over that, and I forget what it went to, like 70,000 to 140,000, almost doubled. But then also they reduced $57,000 on holiday payouts. And the interesting thing about that is that one is a salary, this holiday replacement, and the other one is a benefit. So when we get to the benefit line item, it went down by 57,000, and then this one went up by 72,000. The library, as we saw today, added $53,000 of new salaries. The town hall made all of our admins full-time because of implementing the CLA recommendations. That added 30,000. Accounting added some extra hours for 15,000, and economic development went full-time, adding $8,000. So those are the main drivers of this, and minimum wage and some of those other things that we, and stipend increases also contributed. Here on the benefit page, we are down 78,000 year over year. And very interestingly, over 5 years, inclusive, we are only up 416,000 or 13.1% over 5 years. So I think that's very good, especially when the Board of Ed is up 15% in 1 year. We're up 13% over 5 years. So the decreases in the benefits, what has gone up in this category is that the fire department actuarially determined contribution is up 38,000. I'm actually discussed with Carl. We received the number from the actuary, and that's going to be one of the changes that's going to be recommended in the selectmen's budget. It's going to actually go up $20,000 more. Economic department had it when that position went full-time, it had a family plan added, and PD support went up $16,000 in their benefits as well. The downward pressure is $20,000 in retiree health. The town's actuarial determined contribution went down 38,000. We did actually get the number in from the actuary, and that's correct. Field service health budget's down 55,000, again, their choice. And then the holiday payout down 57,000. So net down 78,000 year over year in benefits. And of course, we always like to point out, in addition to the employees making their choices of healthcare plans, the lines in green represent our negotiation of our healthcare plans. We have a high deductible healthcare plan that has gone from 2,000, 4,000 to 25,500 over the years, and we've added other formulary pieces to the healthcare program and stuff like that that have reduced the overall cost to both employee and the employer. And here's the actual,
Before we move on, so do we have a solid number for 26 for healthcare?
yes.
Okay.
No, I'm sorry. We have a solid budget number in
Yeah.
here. But ours, same thing as the Board of Ed, our number gets finalized in April.
Okay.
They have said that their target is up 8%, likely, and usually they come in about what they
So
say.
that's what you wanted, but we don't
Yes.
know for sure.
Correct. Okay, here's the cost for our retirement programs, which include both the actuarially determined contribution for just the town. This does not include the fire department, plus our defined contribution plan. And we are seeing a little bit of movement. Again, we fully fund, which shows the chart on the left, how we don't use surplus funds anymore to meet our demand. And also, if you recall the presentation that was given by Morgan Stanley, where they showed how the defined benefit cost of the employers has actually peaked and is starting to go down. So we are seeing that a little bit in this year, even with the changes that were made in the police budget with their changes to their program. It's going down. We see the defined contribution plan is also increasing. So the ratio of defined benefit to defined contribution used to be like 90-10, and now it's 77-23. And as we see that continue to move in that direction, our costs are going to become more and more certain over time. But total expense, $867,000.
About this before we move on.
Yes.
So the current policy is that new employees for the town are defined contribution, but the police will stay on defined benefits for the future. So at some point, it'll be fixed at the 25.
It'll be only police at some point on active defined benefit plans, but even some of the police have an option to be in the defined contribution plan if they don't want to be in the defined benefit plan.
I see, sure.
And some do choose that because it's a lot more flexible to leave if you want to leave. Whether it's 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, you can take what you have and leave. As defined benefit plan, sometimes if you leave within 5 years, you don't have that.
I'm
Yeah.
off the topic, but I had a question about this, and I wasn't sure who to ask about this one. So we lost a lot there was a lot of turnover in the police department the last few years, let's just say. So if someone was on defined benefit and was here for 5 years, when they retired, are we liable for 5% or, I mean, they just lost it all, that's how that works?
We give it back to them. We give their contribution, their piece that they put in, their 5%, 6%, 7%, whatever it may be.
I see.
And then we give them interest rate of 5% on their contribution. We return that.
That's generous.
Yeah.
In the pension plan.
Yeah, it's in the pension plan. It's not really generous if you were that employee who was there for 5 years and you were in the defined contribution plan, because then you would have 16% of your salary going over and earning whatever instruments you chose in the marketplace would be a lot higher. So if you're only going to be here for 5 years, you're better off in the defined contribution plan, which is what I think Carl is saying.
Yeah, no, I get that. It's just I wasn't quite sure, they left with what our liability was long term, but none.
Unless they're vetted.
If they're vested,
Yeah,
then they have to wait till they're eligible to retire, and then we would pay them their pension.
So if they're vested, what, 10 years?
10 years.
If they leave after 10 years, they're vested, but they can't take their pension until, and it'd be a smaller pension.
No, I get it. It's just like, I'll say it's a positive, right? Just a weird way in which a turned over police department played out in the pension, right? I mean, it's just I won't say.
Okay, let's keep going.
Okay, operational benefits are up $119,000 over last year. And the main drivers of this is our youth and family services. We give an appropriation. That appropriation is up 23,000. Political subdivisions are up 18,000. Carl mentioned this with the, what do you call it? The
Part of
program.
that is the probate court increase, which may or may not occur. So hoping to have an answer on that in the next week, 10 days.
So you budgeted it for.
I'm sorry?
You budgeted.
I budgeted, the judge's projected cost was we would go from 6 to 30,000. I actually budgeted about another 14,000. I went halfway. And I'm hopeful that some of that can come out, or all of it can come out, perhaps.
The IT budget was up 10,000. Again, that was for the STAR consulting, which is part of the CLA recommendation. And the police department budget, they increased by 27,000. They found out the workers' comp went down by that amount, so they just added it to electricity, IT, and building maintenance. So
27 or 17?
Pardon me?
27 or
27.
27.
10,000 is towards
Yeah,
the
right.
budget, yeah, okay. So those are the overall big pictures. So we've looked at our so now we're gonna look at our department budgets, various line items, et cetera. So starting with the accounting department, we have one employee that, oh, I'm sorry.
Can I just ask a general question before you get to this?
Yes,
And
sir.
So for, please don't, thank you very much.
Yes.
Be very comfortable. As you go through the various departments, right, the majority of them is gonna be a salary
Mhm.
line item. And so, just a general question in terms of how of this, how is the salary defined? Trying to think the right word, set, right?
I do that part.
But more general question, just say, I mean, there are, say, 20 department heads or 20 people, and they will leave or retire something, and at some point, we need to hire, but replace that. Is the salary that we're offering at this point competitive to be able to hire someone who fills that position?
Carl negotiates those.
Well, yeah, I mean, your question, is it competitive? So we've had really no issues in rehiring so, I mean, whether it's competitive or not are we able to fill positions, correct? Would you-
Fair enough, sure, yeah.
And right now, the only positions we're having trouble filling right now are in the Public Works Department. The regular guys, the maintainer twos. Other than that,
That's it.
we're having no trouble, so I'm assuming our salaries are competitive. Department heads, I'm trying to think the last department head who left.
Assessor,
Who?
assessor,
Assessor Norwood, and obviously we filled that.
land use.
So I don't know how else to answer your question other than supply and demand.
Well, and the town can use CCM
Well-
has done salary,
Yes.
like surveys.
Salary
and,
surveys.
like,
There's lots
so
of
we
that
could
out there.
We could benchmark against other Connecticut.
Yeah,
towns.
I almost prefer to benchmark regionally, because once you get into Fairfield County, I mean, if you saw first selectman salaries, they range from 70 to probably 130, you know? Mayors.
160 in Greenwich.
The first selectman, yeah, I mean, but we shouldn't be comparing ourselves with Fairfield County, it doesn't make sense.
For select person who runs a town, that feels like peanuts, right?
So here's my response to that. It should be competitive, it should be competitive in the area, okay, that's it. It's an elected position, it's not a professional it's professional administration. I'm the chief administrative officer of the town by charter. My position has always been that, as if it's an elected position, I think I'm not sure if you pay more, you necessarily attract better candidates. I'm not sure about that. You might not. You might get people to run for it who are just not qualified and they're popular. Or, I'm not sure how to answer that question, other than to say, is it competitive in the area? I actually don't think, an elected first selectman should be paid like a town manager. I actually don't. Town managers get about 150,000 a year. Masters in Public Administration, it just so happens I have a JD, but that's not a prerequisite of being an elected first selectman. So I am not, I mean, not that you asked, but I mean, I don't think I'm banging the table for this position should earn more. I actually don't think that this position should earn, it's within a range. Is it 5,000? I don't know, but the underpaid. For the
Happy to be
position, for the position, no, but I mean, truly,
But just your question is, at some point, if Leanne leaves, we need to.
and you need to fill it, you're gonna pay more. And you probably will get less. I mean, I don't know what else to say.
Yeah, and so, George, what I've done is, through Leanne, I was able to get the information from those towns that submit their salary information to CCM. Not every town provides the information, so therefore the output is, but there is, and being able to, I'm in the process of sorting it for both finance director and first selectman, just to be able to answer that question, say, are we in a position where regionally, not taking into account some of the other parts of the state, are we competitive? And if we're not, what should our process be to get, is it a jump? Is it, steps? How do we do that? So I haven't finished that yet, but I do plan to come back to the board and just say, based on taking a look at this, either we are, so we're fine, or we're not, and so therefore we ought to look at something.
Bruce, I might be able to just help with that too. Let me know what information you get. Let me know what towns you need regionally and.
Oh, okay.
I
Yeah,
can,
if I have some holes that we could take a
just
look
let
at.
me know,
Yeah.
and I'll ask, I'll just send an
Okay.
email.
So, accounting, has a change. One position was 35 hours and that position has moved up to 37.5 hours. We have all new systems and a lot of extra process work and therefore we do need the extra help. So that is included in this budget. The assessor's budget is up 5,000 or 2.8%. One of the things in the defined benefit, as you all know, I'd like to point it out, is that that's a line item of itself, the amount that we pay. So when we get a new employee in any budget, it looks like that particular department budget has gone up, but it's just that we charge the defined contributions to the budget. And someday, all the town budgets are going to have defined contributions and it'll all be equal, but it's a little not really equal at the moment. But that's the main driver there. And then we just reallocated some of the costs, but there's nothing material in the assessor's budget. Board of Finance budget is up for the audit. It's going to go up 2,300 for next fiscal year. And that's the only change in that budget. By the way, I'm going to go fast.
Please do.
And if you want to stop, just yell out, okay? Building department has nothing material in that change in that budget. The fire department's budget is up 33,000. This is the one where the ADC is going to go from 252 to 271. So it's going to be up $19,000 more, and that will be reflected in the Board of Selectmen budget that is given to the Board of Finance. That was actuarially determined, and that takes into consideration the cost of living raises that we gave to the fire department that we typically do every 10 years. Well reserved. Fire marshal's budget, nothing material here. Registrar of voters budget, we actually did have a few changes in this budget. I think you all know, I know you all know about the early voting. So the top line of 32,000 represents the two registrars at 16,000 and change each. The $10,000 line represents the two deputies at $5,000 each. And then the part-time seasonal line item The 17,000 is all the poll workers when we have these various elections. I think it's a lot easier to see it this way. It has not been presented like this in the past, so this is a change in the way you're looking at it. And that's why you have minus 10,000 and the changes, but it's a little bit more clear to see. And obviously, this is all because of early voting.
Take a pause for just a second. The registrars came in, the last couple of years, looking for increases. So is the 16,000 that is being provided now, is that, have we achieved what they were looking for? Because we were gonna step them up to a certain point. I can't remember where that point was. So I've just been trying to figure that out. Are we set at 32 going forward, or will we see other increases coming up?
Carl did the analysis on contacting other areas of registrars. Are the registrars fairly compensated at
Yes.
16,000?
Yes.
And that's the set going forward. Because remember, we said we're gonna step them up to a point.
Yeah, I don't think I think for fiscal 26, we're good.
Mhm.
I'm not saying that on fiscal 27, 28, there shouldn't be smaller increases.
Okay.
But I think we've done a relatively significant jump
Mhm.
to get them where they should be. I had a meeting with the registrars and the deputy registrars, and they came in and made a pitch, and I said, let me look into it. And what I did is I asked the COG, I said, what are you guys all paying?
Mhm.
And I sent it back out to them, the chart, and Westbrook is actually an outlier.
Yeah.
They pay 20,000. And they're an outlier. I don't know, Westbrook of all towns, they pay more for their schools and they pay more for their registrars from what I've seen. And this is very fairly compensated.
Okay.
And they're getting some hourly fees at the elections, which a lot of other towns aren't getting. So.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Question, I seem to remember that with registrar voters, with the early voting, that we had put money aside.
We did.
We had talked about doing things in a flat way, so that in presidential years, when we're gonna have more demand, that we would, things would be balanced. Is that within this current budget, or is that in an off budget account? I can't remember.
There's a little bit of money left in that
Yes.
off budget account. We did use it.
Okay, yeah,
I don't know how much is left, but not very much.
Not a lot, like 4,000 or 5,000.
Yeah.
In that off budget account. So I think as you move towards a presidential, you should probably add money for that year.
yeah,
And I think that's gonna be one time every 4 years.
right, and I would imagine that the gubernatorial cycle would be a
Yeah,
little bit
I think
higher
so
than the
too.
normal municipal cycle, but,
Yeah,
Yeah, I would agree.
yeah.
but so we would need to do that in an off budget way outside.
I
of
mean,
the
I suppose
budget.
you know what, I'd have to ask Matt to see what's in this budget in terms
Yeah.
of whether they feel it's enough for a gubernatorial. Right now on a municipal, I'm hoping they make some changes this year because I think it's a relatively significant period right now as it stands of early voting for a municipal. I think there should be changes to that. There should be a little bit less. I'm not saying there should be any, maybe 7 days, but certainly not 14. It just seems like a lot. Considering you get half the amount of voters, but I'd have to ask to say, do you feel this is enough? I don't.
Plus, aren't they gonna change the rules for absentee voting? I don't know if that's gonna get implemented
Well-
by this November either.
I don't know.
And who knows what those rules are gonna be.
I even think,
That's gonna be very interesting.
the current Secretary of State is recommending less early voting, right?
Yeah. I think she is.
Moving target for registrar.
Right,
It is a moving target, yeah.
There's a lot of factors that come into place. I just want to make sure that we have,
It's enough for this,
that we have appropriate resources.
so it's enough for
in the
this
next
year. It's enough for this year. Let's see what the legislature does this year, and then for next
We'll have
budget
to be
year,
Cognizant of that.
that's when we
Okay.
start. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, Selectmen's Department, normal course here, no major changes to this budget.
Our admin, right?
No, she's on town hall.
Oh, right.
Tax collector, up 3.8%, no major changes to this budget. Catherine Hepburn just changed some of the amounts around, but kept the budget flat, to right size it to actuals. Town clerk budget, up 2.5%. We reduced, the purchase professional services down to 32,000, just to kind of keep it closer to actual, but that was not a major change. Town hall up 40,000 or 9.1%. All the admins went full-time. So that's the increase of 29,000 along with their corresponding defined contributions went up a little bit too. CLA recommendation. Stipend change in the treasurer's budget from 8,000 to 10,000. That has never been changed. So it's been several years, as you can see. That went up. Now we're going to take a look at the various line items.
Can I just say, is that salary, 8,000 to 10,000?
Stipend.
Stipend, sorry. Long term.
Yeah, it's paid once a month. Monthly, paid monthly, yes.
So is that, this is just a curiosity, if that's not something that's set in charter, that's something that is determined by this group?
Correct.
Yes, the treasurer is simply a constitutional position and it's whatever we choose to pay.
Okay. Yeah.
So in the head, you had a WPCA.
I took that out.
Sorry.
Because you know what, we're gonna present that budget on Tuesday.
Okay.
So I figured, why do it twice?
Thank you. Sorry.
Okay, so let's see, everything is pretty much remaining flat here. Insurance always goes up about 3%, so that one increased. Public health nursing board went up, that's due to the busy nurse increase on that. Street lighting, 5,000 for electricity, 5,000 for maintenance. We've had these lights for many years now, so we're starting to use a little bit more maintenance. Tree warden, the stipend went up slightly. Waste
Well,
collection.
yeah, this tree warden doesn't get paid 58,000.
No,
Tree
it does
warden,
not.
That includes tree takedowns, tree planting, it's a whole budget. Just so you guys know, as you know, we lost our tree warden, unfortunately in November. But, Bill Claffey, is going to take the tree warden class and he's asked if it'd be okay if he became the tree warden. And I think it's actually a good idea, not unusual that staff members become tree wardens. So I think that will be very good.
So let me ask you,
Yeah. You want to be tree warden?
I know, I want to be careful, okay? We have, I think, put a big thing about ethics at $950, so is that enough? Where we're going, but I'm being somewhat funny now. Now, with Billy Claffey, if he's going to be our tree warden, is he going to get that stipend?
Yes.
And now,
In
are we
addition.
gonna have a concern about, can he do both jobs?
The tree warden basically drives around and looks at trees that people complain about. And say, I think this tree is dead, or I think this tree needs to be pruned. And that's what he does, that's what Bill's doing every day. So I actually think it's a perfect fit.
Just wanna
For
be
the public
sure
works
that, that we're careful.
I don't think there's any issue there at all.
We have that in Wallingford, the public works director was the tree
Yeah, I
warden
think in essence, maybe.
in Wallingford, same way.
In the rec, too, was,
Yeah.
Parks and Rec.
Yeah. the
So
Parks and Rec.
and other towns have the same thing.
I think it's a good fit, actually. When he brought it to me, I was like, that's great.
While we're in the tree warden budget, it reminds me that we've kind of, a year ago, we were having a push by the Save Our Shade people about putting funding aside in order for us to be an arbor city, I think is the terminology. Have we done this in the proposed budget? Do
No,
we need to do it?
they haven't asked more recently. They're on some different initiatives. So one thing we're gonna see next, maybe Tuesday, is right now they wanna push for, they're applying for a grant to do an audit of trees in town. So and they got one bid from Save the Tree, and it is for, I forget, like 20,000, but it's a 50% match. So they're going to be asking for $10,000 so that Save a Tree can come in and do an audit of the tree. So I think they want to do some preliminary things first. They have not brought that to me this year. But I think once they have an audit, once we do some other tree planting, that may still be on the agenda, but I don't know when.
Okay. Just wanted to make sure. It's-
Yeah, that, I have nothing on that.
Can
Wanna
I
go back?
go back?
Yeah.
Sorry, I want to ask a question about legal services and how that budget works, because we don't see the past years. And in past years, have we fully expended our legal services budget?
Yes, and it's,
And is it just flat, sorry. Is it just flat, is it just our town council and then also some room to take on additional legal services as needed? Okay.
town council and our collective bargaining attorney as well. Another,
So zoning has a legal budget too, so, and we did increase this from 100 to 125, I think, last year.
yes.
Okay.
Look, I mean, where it's going this year, I don't know, in our current year.
Right.
But legal, and budget,
You want me to help?
Yeah, 125 is requested. This is saying, last year was 103
Okay.
we spent.
Yeah, and then we increased it to 125,
Yeah.
and so far we've spent
42?
whatever that is, yeah.
That doesn't
That's
make
what, no,
sense.
that's what we spent so far this year. This
Okay.
is what we budgeted, 125, we spent 42, 101, 105.
Yeah.
These are all actuals
I
back.
feel like we spent more than 42, but
Yeah,
that's
we
what it's
could have.
saying.
Okay, so we've spent in the past years around 100,000 and we've moved it to
Correct.
125.
Yep.
But with Mike Cronin retiring and bringing on a regular firm, we suspected it was gonna be more this year.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions on these non-major? Okay, here's all the commissions. The only commission that moved, everything is flat except for assessment appeals. We cut that line in half. I mean, last year was the 10-year reval, so it was more expensive. This year it's not, but everything else is the same. Political subdivisions, up 18 and a half, 11.9. This is, you can see it's right there in the probate court. We added a garden club. This one we're still collecting some numbers that come in, so this might change a little bit. But that's really the probate court that's driving this.
Garden Club asked if we would consider a contribution to them, and I'm asking this board to consider $1,000 appropriation to the Garden Club for just all they do. Without the Garden Club, honestly, I'm not sure what Main Street would look like.
Yeah.
I really am not, without those volunteers. Actually, I am sure what it would look like. I should say that.
Were they the garden club, be also the organization that worked with Billy Claffey on that vegetation? Was that garden club or a different group? That, Joyce Mikulski, et cetera.
I don't know if it was the Garden Club or not.
Okay.
I'm not
I
sure.
know Joyce is one of the researchers.
Yes.
Retiree health is down 25,000. Again, this is about the mix of employees. So there's employees that last year were under 65 that are now over 65. It's less expensive for us. Our life insurance cost is locked in until next year. And we don't expect, we don't know of any major retirements. Yes, sir. I mean, yes, George.
Is this a fixed plan? I mean, in other words, new employees are no longer eligible for this? Is that-
Yes, that's correct.
So it's, but the children.
Except for the under 65, area where the police can be on the plan until they're 65, if they retire at age 60.
I see.
Or if they retire after they reach retirement age, whatever that may be, they can stay on until they're 65, then they come off.
And for the 27 over 65, we're essentially paying their Medicare Part A premiums.
You know, we're paying their, what are those things called? Those,
Advantage.
Advantage plan. We have advantage plans for them, yes. Yep. And then here's our debt. We already talked about this, but the only thing I'll add here is you can see that the school, which the town is paying off, is almost 2.9 million. And we still owe $6 million on the sewer bonds, which are the ones that we're using that benefit assessment.
I'm glad you put the school in there. I didn't realize that.
Yeah, yeah. So, and this is the net contractual debt. And then, okay, so now, I think I'm kind of done. I wanted to move to this memo, unless anybody has any questions on anything else there that we have. So we met with the, capital planning group last week, and, I'll just start with, I'll go over this and then I'll go over the memo last.
This, you're talking about is the chart.
Yes, the chart first.
George? Yeah, so just a quick question before, because once we get the capital budget, we'll leave this part of the presentation, which I appreciate. I mean, I think it's been great. So sort of currently the bottom line is a projected increase of 2.5%. Total.
Yes,
like that.
with the Board of Ed.
Board of Ed.
Yeah.
So far.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's just, I mean, at the end of the day, that is the number. Right?
And so, and then, you know, when we look at our assessed values, they may increase or decrease, and that will to some extent add to or take away from the amount that we have to tax. And so we're not ready for that number yet. That will happen.
Yeah, no, but it's just, the shock factor, what that number is, 2.5, is not a, does not.
2.9 or 2.5?
2.9, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
2.9.
Yeah. Yeah, and then let's see. Page. Yes, on page 3 of the slideshow, townwide budget up 1.4 or 2.9%. I'm sorry.
No, I looked last year.
Okay. Anything else before I move on? Okay, so, capital outlay, the fire department, we put aside 176,000 and change every year. That pays for their debt service of 107,000 on a fire truck that we bought, and that's going to be paid off in 2030. So we have about a balance of about 70,000 going towards any other types of capital projects that they may need. Capital non-recurring is formulaic. We say we have $275,000 that we want to put in capital non-recurring, and against that, we have our named projects, which are what all of the departments have shown you. You saw Park and Rec today. You saw the forklift from, which is in the named projects field down below. And you've seen EDC, oh, I forgot to mention the vehicle for the building official. So, that's the only capital project that you have not seen, and the department head that is not coming in. So he has a very large truck that was bought several years ago. Used to be,
2015, Don Lucas purchased it. It was helpful for Don when he was on fire department calls back in the day. Tom does not prefer to get in and out of a pickup truck. Bill Claffey now drives around town in a mason dump. Bill would take the pickup truck, which is a much more efficient way for Bill to do his job rather than driving a mason dump. And his mason dump is relatively, well, it's in very good condition. That would go into the fleet, which would be very helpful to the fleet, and it would decrease a request that Bill may have coming for a mason dump. Tom would then is requesting to purchase a Chevrolet Traverse or something like that. And this is a state bid quote for that. It's an SUV. That's what he's.
Smaller.
Slightly smaller.
Not that
The
big white
Traverse is
truck.
not that, no, the Traverse is a,
Yeah.
it's at least a 2-row, maybe even a 3-row, but the Traverse is a family, almost a family, but it's enough for him to carry equipment if he needs it. That's his request. He looked into it. He would prefer to drive something like that. It actually is a good swap for Public Works too, but, that's on the board, yeah.
Again, can I just ask, was this discussed with the capital? committee?
Yes.
Yes, it was.
All of these were discussed with the capital committee, so.
Because I know that Brad is very focused when we're talking about vehicles. I want to make sure he's on board.
And he,
Is he
yes,
still on?
he probably is, but he was on board with everything. Everybody, it was unanimous.
Yes, I agree. No,
Yes.
Yeah, there were a lot of discussion about different models of trucks and, or SUVs, and he was satisfied with it.
Yeah. So, Public Works, so that's how capital non-recurring is split up. We're gonna have 206,000 named projects, so that we don't have to we'll go to referendum, we don't have to go to town meeting, and then 68,000 will go into the capital non-recurring. That makes up the 275. And then we're increasing the Public Works transfer station from 100 to 125. We discussed that as part of our strategy for paying back the negative funds that are in that account at the moment, as part of the strategy there. And then under the additional reserves, some of these are typical reval, catastrophic illness, which is heart and hypertension for police, general contingency. Saybrook, Celebrate Saybrook Festival, Carl has talked about how he wants to increase it a little bit every year till we get to a point where it's self-funded, so it's going from 10,000 to 20,000, that's an increase of 10. Retirement payout now, and then the sinking fund for roof repair. The 90,000 for the police vehicle and the 20,000 for the heat pumps, they are not, that I have taken 90,000 out of the police budget, which was approved by the police commission, and just simply moved it over to the capital
So
budget.
we see that in the bottom of the slide, right?
It
Is
is.
that what you see in the bottom where it says capital expenditures, 89,000,
Yeah,
something like that?
minus, where it says minus, so it's coming out of that budget. I just rounded it up to 90, but, and same thing with the heat pumps. We actually had that at 15, but decided 20,000 probably made sense, so it comes out of the individual department's budget, moved up here. The reason, of course, is because if it remains in a budget and it doesn't get used, it drops to the bottom line. And we want to be consistent with how we think about our capital strategies across the board. We make up these savings accounts, we identify what they're for, and we want to have monies that are saved for either outright purchasing a vehicle or waiting for a flipping of the fleet or a debt service payment, whatever makes the most sense for those types of programs. So I'll talk more about this. That's where we have it now, but we want to get the Board of Finance's buy-in to this, how this is going to work. So this is the action item that I'll go over in just one moment. And if you all agree, then I'd like to ask the chairman to put that on the agenda for approval.
For Tuesday night.
For Tuesday night or whenever you want to. So, any questions? We did not raise the Public Works paving budget this year. We had been kind of at 500,000. Everything else remained about the same as you have seen in the past. So is there
Just want to make clear, everybody knows what we're doing. We had a couple things. The current balance of the capital non-recurring account is approximately
I think it's like 2 million, just under
about 2 million.
Yeah.
Okay, just so
Yeah.
everybody knows, there's 2 million that we've been saving in addition to doing all the capital projects. Revaluation, putting that 50,000 in there has just been a great thing for the town. To be able to pay for reval whenever we need to do reval, which is a very expensive endeavor. Catastrophic illness is in there almost specifically for officer heart and hypertension claims. Okay? Know what that is?
Yeah.
Okay. And that is, there's a balance. I don't know what it is. We could probably show those balances. But we are paying out of that account to at least 2 officers, maybe 3. We have a general contingency. I don't know what's in that.
Yeah, and we have, I don't know, see, 70,000, 80,000, actually, that's been building up. And these are, shown every month in the finance director's reports, the
Yeah.
balances. that are-
Retirement payout, people accumulate sick and vacation time.
Yeah.
Like Norm Wood did and, others. So just, these are, a lot of these line items were started in the last 13 years. Because all of a sudden we get a request for 50,000 for payout, and I'm like, and it was in the budget and it was dropping to the bottom line, and I was like, this has to go off budget. So these accounts have been tremendously beneficial. I don't know that we need to talk a lot more about the 90,000 with the police vehicles or as long as this board understands the concept, we're done financing the fleet. We've done 3 4-year financings. Now we're in year 5. Instead of having the money in the 90,000 just go away because the police don't need to have a payment in fiscal 26, we are gonna need new vehicles at some point.
We're investing for a down payment.
Yeah, and whether it's financing, whether it's outright purchasing, you need to buy police vehicles. We used to buy them 2 or 3 a year. Now we've been financing them by quote unquote flipping the fleet. Whether we do that again or not, we're gonna need new vehicles at some point. The Tahoes, when we financed them, it was during COVID, we didn't get them right away. So all these vehicles are probably on the road now for 3 years, not 4 years, or a lot of them, 3 to 3.5. But there's gonna come a time, probably over the next 1 to 2 years, where we're gonna need 2 or 3 vehicles, and this is a way to go about doing that, so.
The only other piece is a slight modification of the year-end outside services vehicle.
Oh, great.
So we, right now we take, if the amount that they earn on outside vehicles is 70 grand, we take that 70,000 and we put it into the police budget, even if they already have a surplus. So we're kind of like adding to our surplus. So this says, take a look at the, and then he budgets like, 40 grand for fuel. So it says, make sure that, fuel, like if he spends 50 grand, we'll take 10,000, make it 40 grand. And then everything else will go towards the purchase of new vehicles.
That's the proposal.
That's changing, yeah, changing the funding.
So only
mechanisms
what we
slightly.
need to put back into the budget to balance the gasoline line item.
So it no longer goes to the bottom line.
Correct, yes, and then that will also help to pay for
And there
vehicles.
just is no shortage of outside services, from what I can tell. So we will, which is good. That's, I guess. And so we'll probably be putting away with the between 90 and 120 a year. And obviously, if that gets too big or whatever, we can do what we need to do with it, but we're not looking to have 500,000 in that account.
So not to prolong the meeting for too long, but
No,
just
let's keep
just
going.
a question around, it's reminded me relative to the Public Works Transfer Station and the 125. And this is actually going back to the operating budget rather than the capital budget. One of the things that I've noticed is the idea of hiring a part-time person with the NIPS fund relative to being able to help pursue the waste and recycling task force. From a process question, is that something that, because we at the Board of Finance haven't seen that, yet it seems to be a discussion there. Is that coming to us? Is that a decision at that point, or what happens with that kind of question?
That's been tabled for the moment.
Okay.
The union objected, the support union objected. They came to me and said, we feel that the position of recycling coordinator that you posted should be done by one of our members. And in fact, we feel like one of our members is either capable or is already doing some of this. I disagree, but for a $10,000 stipend position, I'm not going to the labor board right now with that legally. So we had 4 applicants. I'd say for this tiny position. 2 or 3 of them were like excellent. I thought they'd do a great job. I've informed all of them for right now. I need to put this on the table. Not the biggest fight that, I need to undertake at the moment. I'd like to smooth that out with the union at some point so that we could do this. But just so you do know that the small bottles fund, the NIPS fund, we are paying for Blue Earth to come and take our food scraps at the transfer station, and we are now starting a program at the Goodwin School. Just want, in the interest of disclosure, we are spending the money doing that.
You mentioned that with those.
So, yeah, and we do have about 27, I want to say like 27,000, 25,000 in that small bottle fund.
Is the coordinator post contingent upon the state allowing NIPS to still be sold? If that fund goes
It would
away?
be at 100%, it would be contingent upon that, although I was going to start. I did put some seed money in the transfer station budget, $2,500, because if a recycling coordinator was going to be successful, and we would see that over the next year or two, even if those monies went away, I thought maybe we would build it into a position. But right now, I want to put it on hold because I don't believe that one of the folks in our union who's currently 40 hours can undertake this also. And I don't want to pay overtime. I don't think I just don't see why I'm paying overtime. That means it's not part of that. So I was a little bit put off by that, to be honest with you. It was a very cordial conversation, but right now I've just tabled that.
Okay, yeah, appreciate that.
The only, I just want to conclude thanking you all for your time. I appreciate all these long nights and Saturdays. And if you have any questions or comments about any of the information that you've seen today or in the past few days, please feel free to bring it up at Tuesday's meeting or whatever that might be helpful to help us finish the budget or contact us directly.
I want to make two quick comments. Everybody, John Lundeen is on the Waste and Recycling Task Force, and it was his house in Otter Cove. I looked it up when I saw the address. So I did reach out to John. I haven't heard back. I saw John Wednesday at a meeting. And then I realized, I believe, I don't want to misspeak. I believe it is his house. I looked it up on the GIS and that's what I saw for the address. And so if it is, I think, we should all just think about John. He gives his time to that task force. One other thing, with regard to the bridge work on Great Hammond. So they said, we're gonna need more time. So there's gonna be partial road closures. They're not done with that bridge. And so the contractor said, hey, can we park some equipment in Harvey's Beach? And I wrote back to the state and to the contractor, and well, what I did is I inquired of Ray, and I said, Ray, do you have any smaller needs right now? And he said, yeah, we need a new gate at Harvey's Beach. It got run into. So I wrote back to the state and the contractor, and I said, the answer is yes, you can. I said, this is not a negotiation. I said, the answer is yes, but as a result of the inconvenience to the community, would you be willing to perhaps undertake this? And they said yes. So they're getting a new fence courtesy of Brunelli Construction. And that's a donation by Brunelli Construction.
Another one of those.
Well,
Yeah, so, I made clear it was not a negotiation. We wanted to work with the contract. I didn't want it to be. All right?
Well said.
Well done.
Okay, any comments from the board, questions? Hearing none, motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Is there a second? All in favor, aye?
Aye.